He hit 7 threes in one game and hit 6 the next game.
God, dude, I was so pissed when he hit those 7 threes.
That's why I was against the Knicks.
I was thinking like, hey, yo, I'm thinking like, hey, Frank Ntilikina, do you feel like actually guarding Kobe White? Like you would think after he hit the first 2 threes, and you're our best on the ball defender.
Yeah.
They're gonna run the pick and roll to where Kobe White is gonna continuously be or the pick and pop to where he's going to be open for threes, and you can't figure out to freaking guard this man.
And everybody
Dude,
in the
game
building
was tied at 82 apiece because Bobby Portis hit a 3 in the corner to tie the freaking game up.
Yeah.
And the next thing you blink, and freaking Kobe White, by his own damn self, blew that game wide open because Frank Ntilikina and the New York Knicks defense didn't think that Kobe White
They were challenging him.
Dude, it was pissing me off. I'm like, dude, get up on him
proved he can
to make him
drop.
Yeah. Thank you, dude. After the second 3, you need to get up on him so that flipping he's not. You give him 2 inches of space, he's gonna flail it up.
I thought it was a fluke, and then he hit 6 the next night. I was like,
when the game was tied at 82, I regretted not going to the game. When Kobe White went off, it turned into the best decision I had made not to spend money to go.
Yeah, that would have
so I can see Kobe White hit a record 7 threes in a flipping basketball game because the Knicks don't know how to play defense in the 4th damn quarter.
Yeah, but Kobe White's not going to start because we need veterans to start because Kobe White's a rookie and he's not. We can't start rookies, so.
Well, we kind of just dipped right into the sports conversation. I mean, we're not really that kind of show. You know, when we went to school, they showed us how to do like formats and
lead-ins.
What's the term for when like they give you the breakdowns of what and format? I think it's what it's called. Mm-hmm. Dude, we're not doing no dumbass format on this show. Hell no. All right, that's Mack. I'm Black. We're here at Rep's Place, 3200 Kershaw, right here in Rolling Meadows. We got some people out there that's enjoying. We're watching the Bulls game. As you can see, we were talking Bulls. Max showing his frustration with Jim Boylan,
the boomer,
the boomer, and his punching time clock. So the guys can get a feel of what it's like to work a real man's job. Oh my God. Dude, you jump off the nuts. But you know what? At the same time, though, like this sports group that I'm in, these guys have been saying the same thing. Like a lot of them are Bulls fans, and they have had the same frustrations that you have had with the way that Jim Boylan's running the team. But yet again, this all goes back to Gar Pax.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This was Paxson and Gar. Well, I'd say it's more John Paxson's idea. Gar Forman just kind of just riding the heels. You know,
they say that Paxson says it's Gar Pax so that it doesn't all fall on him, but Paxson's really doing it.
Yeah, dude. You know? Yeah, we know who's pulling the real strings.
And the worst part is they've been pulling strings for a long time and have had a lot of bad teams. Yeah. And this year, not even unfortunately, but as a Bulls fan, you weren't looking at them that badly. This is the first offseason in a long time, Nick, where people were like laid off of Gar Pax. Yep. They were like, oh, okay, Thaddeus Song is a decent young wing. Thomas Satoransky, we talked about him before the show, decent veteran presence. And then the Kobe White pick was decent. So I think people were sort of off of the hate train when it comes to Gar Pax, but it's getting harder and harder now.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
How are you 2 inches under the hoop and you're passing it out for 3?
Yeah. That's another thing, dude. Is, these, I like to call these guys the baby Bulls because there are still a lot of young players on this team. But honestly, I shouldn't be saying that, because they're not that young anymore, first of all. Zach LaVine is, for all things considered, a veteran in the league now. When it comes to guys like Lauri Markkanen, you asked before the show, I think this is his third year. Yep. They're not young anymore. So you have to start to look for little milestones. And okay, if you're a guy who takes moral victories, you might have taken a couple more victories early this season with the Bulls because, again, they played some really good basketball in large stretches, but they don't know how to close games out yet. And yeah, to a certain extent, you learn that as you win. But I do see that there's a little bit of I don't know. I guess I could just say that there's not as much progress as you thought there would be by this point, and Jim Boylan is starting to wear very thin on me and a lot of Bulls fans. He yanked Zach LaVine out of last night's game, I believe, for after 3 minutes in the first quarter. He yanked him out and put in Shaq Harrison or somebody like that. And basically said after the game that he took him out because, Zach wasn't playing defense the way that he was supposed to. And my point is, it's 3 minutes of a game. Now Zach, he has a problem with defense at some points, but it's not really to do with effort. It's more so to do with just like, it's tough to guard guys in this league, no matter how athletic you are. Zach's very athletic. He just, it's hard to guard guys in this league, especially with the way that, you have to guard, two guards nowadays. You got to run around all around the court. You got to, run through screens. There's a lot of sort of physical aspects to playing defense that you don't have to do on the offensive side of the ball. So it's a little frustrating right now, but I think the Bulls have, they have some moral victories to take out of the first couple of games here of the season, but it's time to start winning some games. I'm happy they've started to win some games here or there. I was hoping by now, I was really hoping, Nick, that we had a really strong start, and that strong start would sort of propel us to get a 6, 7, 8 seed for the playoffs. We'll see. It's still too early in the season to start talking like that. But, certainly the Bulls have a lot of room for improvement right now.
Exactly. So we're going to get into some NFL later on. Believe it or not, we were actually not on air when this whole Myles Garrett thing went down and all the suspensions and all this crap. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I really do want to get into some baseball right now because the White Sox were the first to kind of put the bullets in their gun and shoot during this free agency as they got Yasmani Grandal from the Brewers. What was like 3 or 4 years for like $74 million.
Yeah, 4 years, $74 million, and good for him because I think he was one of the premier free agents last year.
Right.
And the market was very thin, as you know. And then what ended up happening is the best deal he got last year was 4 years, $60 million.
Yeah.
And then he ended up just taking a 1 year, $18 million deal. Pretty nice deal for him with Milwaukee. And I'll tell you, Nick, everyone loves him in Milwaukee. That makes me feel good.
Right.
Like he was only there for a year. First of all, he's been around a little bit. He's been with the Dodgers, been with the Padres. He did have that year with the Brewers. But yeah, the White Sox, man, I will say, Nick, it was surprising. It wasn't surprising because they went out and got a guy. It was surprising because they went out and prioritized Grandal.
Yeah.
Even though he's a great player, the Sox, seemingly were set at the catcher position with James McCann making the All-Star team. But, and I love what Rick Hahn said. He said you can never, that's a great problem to have. When you have too many major league quality players,
right,
that's a good problem to have.
Right.
Now, I think of it in this way, Nick. Last year, something I love Rick Renteria, you know that, but I have a lot of criticisms about him specific. And one was that he would play Wellington Castillo as a DH.
Yeah.
That bothers me. It bothers me first because he's a catcher.
Right.
And you need, there's some, but it also bothers me because he wasn't really that great offensively.
Right.
So the Sox ended up trading Wellington Castillo a couple weeks ago. They got something from him. I don't think it was much, but they got a major league or a minor league arm. So they were expecting Zach Collins, who's a nice left-handed prospect, to come up and basically fill that void. Now you got Grandal, you've got McCann, you got Collins, and you got Abreu. What I'm saying is you got 2 catchers and 2 first basemen, 3 catchers and a first baseman in there. And I think what the Sox plan is essentially to do is to have those 4 players rotate between first base, catcher, and DH.
Right.
Rick Renteria loves to rest Jose Abreu a lot. Not necessarily rest him as in, sit him for the game, but give him a DH game every now and then so he's not playing defense. Jose doesn't like it. And by the way, Jose, he accepted the 1 year qualifying offer, and then him and the team just yesterday agreed to a 3 year, I think $40 million deal. Dude, that guy Jose Abreu is something else. You don't see guys like that anymore who are like, I don't give a fuck what anyone wants to pay me. I'm staying with the White Sox. I don't care. He literally said that last year.
He's been saying that for the longest time, that even at the trade deadline last year, he was like, look, you can trade for me if you want to, but I'm just letting you know I'm going right back to the White Sox. So obviously no one was, acquiring about him like that.
Right.
I was just told by my buddy Steven that the Rangers are losing again, 2-0. Dude, they just Ottawa's one of the bad teams in the NHL. Last night they just got waxed 4-1, which doesn't make sense. Dude, our defense is so bad, and for some reason the Rangers love Lindy Ruff, the former Buffalo Sabres coach, and he's horrible. Let's bring in this experienced guy to teach defense. Yeah, how many defensive Cubs or defensive geniuses was coming out of Buffalo under his watch? Yeah. Dude, get rid of this clown. They've been
such good defensive teams in Buffalo.
Especially when you got Mike Babcock that just got fired from Toronto. Man, dude.
That was a quick trigger, too.
That was a real quick trigger on Mike Babcock. Hopefully the Rangers can turn it around. I know they can. Offensively, they're good. We'll see if they can turn it around. When I thought about what the White Sox did yesterday by getting Grandal, it kind of let me know that the White Sox, I feel like even though their record may have not have been great per se, but the White Sox had one of those kind of seasons where it's like, okay, it's like, we're not going to look at our win-loss record. Let's look at our how do we develop guys. So we know Eloy is a beast. We know Moncada can be a beast. We know Giolito can be an ace. So we're going to bring in Grandal, who is one of the better catchers in the league, especially for Milwaukee. We're going to bring our big gun and Jose Abreu back.
And they're not done. And
the White Sox are far from done.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking last night was, it's so funny how Cubs fans were always talking so much of how the White Sox suck and we're the better team.
They can't get any free agents.
Dude, the Chicago Cubs could end up at the end of the day being in the same boat where they think that the White Sox are.
Right.
Because the Cubs, if you want to be real about it, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Ricketts pretty much more or less tell Theo Epstein that he wasn't going to open up the checkbook for Theo Epstein to make moves? Because look, for how long have we been like, okay, here's the checkbook.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go away from the World Series year. After the World Series, I've let you spend money, and we have seemingly digressed. Yeah. So much so that we fired Joe Madden because the team pretty much tuned him out.
Yeah.
But at what point do you start maybe holding some of these guys accountable? Like, okay, I don't know. If Chris Bryant isn't going to re-sign with you, trade him. You offer this man a 10-year, almost $300 million deal, and his dude said no.
Yeah. And I think that has more to do with him and Scott Boras being pissed at the Cubs. Because remember, the Cubs and Chris Bryant don't have a great history. Like there was a little bit of controversy of how they brought him up, and they left him down for a little bit just to get more service time out of him, which every team does, to be fair.
Right.
But yeah, here's the thing that really interested me about the White Sox Grandal thing and how it relates to the Cubs. Because the Cubs right now are actively trying to trade Wilson Contreras.
Oh, that's right.
So I think, first of all, I think the Cubs were very happy to see that Grandal went to a team like the White Sox and not to, let's say, for example, the Brewers or any other team that's really, really heavy right now needing a catcher. And the White Sox just sort of set the market for the Cubs and allowed them now to sort of have a little bit better talks with regards to Contreras. I think they're going to trade Bryant this year, and that's the biggest surprise to me is you won a World Series with these guys in your core, and I think the whole checkbook thing to me. That's fine. If you don't want me to go out in free agency and buy a new team every single year, that's fine. But you better open up the checkbooks to re-sign some of these guys that we want to re-sign. And I think the whole reason why they are probably not going to, or probably going to be trading Contreras is because they probably feel they can't bring him back.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit there. The Cubs are in a tricky position, but I agree with you. The White Sox bought themselves some respect this year.
I believe that. Yes.
And it wasn't necessarily because they won a ton of games, but I think they saw the individual guys. And it's funny. We were talking to Mike over here at Reps. And he was basically saying, like, where are all these prospects that the Sox got? And I think it's easy to forget that the prospects are up now.
Yep.
They're there. Okay.
Yep.
The Giolito was a prospect. He's up now. Reynaldo Lopez was a prospect. He's up now. Dylan Cease, prospect, up now. Kopech, up now. Eloy Jimenez,
Yohan
Moncada, all those guys are up now. Zach Collins is going to be playing next year. Even Nick Madrigal, a guy who was a second baseman 2 years ago, they're already talking about maybe they will bring him up this year.
Yeah.
Louis Robert, one of the best young prospects. I think he's a number 2 prospect in the whole league. Is Louis Robert. And they're possibly thinking about bringing him up this year. And he's, I think, 19 or 20.
Right.
So the White Sox right now have bought themselves some respect. And what I was really encouraged to see is they're still in on Wheeler. They're still in on Ryu. They're still in on Marcell Ozuna. And apparently, Anthony Rendon's people were like, oh, shit, you guys got money for Grandal. All right, we'll talk. So we'll see what happens. I'm not getting my hopes up about a guy like Rendon because I really think Rendon is probably set for the Dodgers right now.
Right.
I think the Dodgers, either the Dodgers or the Angels. I think the Angels have a lot to prove still, and I think they're going to have to open up the checkbook. So it's going to be an interesting hot stove. We'll see exactly what happens here.
I'm with you on that. I was also thinking like for a team like for the White Sox to maybe if they were to try to acquire another arm. With Steven Strasburg, because I think Garrett Cole is either going to go out east or I think he's going to go out west. I think he's either destined for the Angels or he's destined for the Yankees. But Steven Strasburg would be kind of like 1B and a pretty solid 1B for a guy who's just won the World Series MVP, by the way.
True.
Him and Giolito would be a nice one too.
That would be, yeah.
And once again, you don't look at what the White Sox were record-wise. Look at what they can be. And, there's a lot of really good young talent, especially for a wide-open AL Central where can the Twins repeat what they did last year?
Yeah.
Are the Indians starting to really fall off now?
Right.
The Royals, we know that they're, on the quote-unquote rebuild.
Sure.
The Detroit Tigers just flat-out suck.
Yeah.
No, they're not rebuilding.
They're not,
They just
They didn't trade anyone. They didn't try to get any prospects. They just said,
that's
fuck it,
because
we'll
they signed Miguel Cabrera to that fat ass
Crazy
contract,
deal,
and you can't move it because nobody wants to touch a guy that basically can't play first base.
He gets hurt every single time he runs to first.
Every time he runs to first, like so, he's basically he's basically the Babe Ruth. Remember when Babe Ruth runs? He could only run the first and have somebody run the rest of his bases. And that's basically what Miguel Cabrera is now. So, I was asked about Jacoby Ellsbury because the Yankees let Jacoby Ellsbury go, and
they're gonna try not to pay him his salary
and I was asked, do I feel like they're gonna recoup the money? I think they're gonna get something out of it because Jacoby Ellsbury literally did not play the last 2.5 years.
Now, was it that he couldn't play, or was it a medical thing? I'm still unaware of what it was.
It seems like he was forever hurt.
Okay, so it's just like he's permanent hurt.
Right. So like one time, like 1 minute it's the back, and then he goes into the rehab, and then he has a setback, and it sounds like his thigh. And so now they got to shut him down.
He's just milking it.
And he was milking it, right? And so because what the Yankees did was because of the Rule 5 draft coming up, they designated Greg Bird for assignment. Thank Christ.
Oh, wow. They said, we're not even going to try this experiment.
Because he's in the same boat as Ellsbury.
He's always hurt.
He comes up, he has a great first month of the season, and then he's gone because of a foot injury or a back injury or something, and it was going on for 2-3 years straight. So you get rid of Bird, you get rid of Ellsbury, and then they put on the 40-man roster Estevan Florio, who's I think their number one prospect. Oh. And then they put in somebody else on the 40-man roster to protect them from the Rule 5 draft.
Yes.
The reason why the Yankees are an interesting case is for a couple of reasons. I think the guy that I think the Yankee fans get on the most is Gary Sanchez. I'm a fan of Gary Sanchez, but I'm starting to think that Gary Sanchez is starting to be in the Ellsbury Bird group, where I'm not trying to say that he sucks as a catcher. I'm just saying he's not improving to where he was as a catcher.
Right.
If I was to ask Cub fans how good defensively is Wellington Castillo, would the New York Yankees make almost a borderline straight up trade with the Cubs to bring in Castillo? Because if Castillo can give you,
you're talking about Wilson Contreras.
I just said Castillo, my stupid ass.
You got it.
Contreras for Gary Sanchez, and I know it sounds dumb to some people.
No, I think that makes sense.
Again, if Contreras is 10% better than Sanchez defensively, the Yankees win at least 7 more games because we lost a lot of games because Gary Sanchez won't go on his knees and block a ball.
Yeah, I follow the Cubs enough to know that one of Wilson Contreras' biggest strengths is his being behind the plate.
Yeah.
He's very flexible, first of all.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that can like literally get on one knee and just completely stretch out, and he blocks balls well. I think the one thing with Contreras though is that when he's on offensively, he's on.
Yeah.
Like he is going to rake the ball.
Right.
The Cubs, I think, wanted him to switch positions.
Yeah.
I think they've been wanting him to switch positions for quite a while.
Right.
But he just worked out so well, especially during that World Series year,
right.
where he was just tremendous for them in a limited fashion too.
Right.
So Contreras is an interesting one, especially because, like, you know what, the Cubs, they could do worse than sending him to the Yankees, you know?
Yeah.
So, and the Yankees still have some mid-level prospects too to throw at the Cubs.
That's true.
And I think it would come with draft compensation too.
I want to bring that up too because the story of the Yankees acquiring one Luis Castillo, the young pitching prospect from the Reds, jumped up again. My bad. For whatever reason, the New York Yankees. I haven't brought in my homie here.
I know. I'm glad you brought him. He's back.
That's right. The reason why his name is interesting is because this man's only 25 years old.
Yeah.
I've seen him pitch a couple times against the Cubs. This kid's lights out. 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He has like an 85-mile-an-hour change, kind of like a circle change. I mean, this kid is really good. He's just in Cincinnati.
Right.
And
nobody knows.
Here's what's funny. This guy was trying to say that he thinks that the Yankees, once again, are trying to shortchange the Reds, that they need to throw in either Torres or Andujar because the package deal was going to be Clint Frazier, one of the Yankees' many starters that they have. So it could be Montgomery, it could be Happ, it could be out of your big three, which is Tanaka, James Paxton, and Luis Severino. Could it be Herman, depending on what's going to happen with him? And there was a couple other mid-level prospects and packaged those guys to give to the Reds for Castillo.
That would be a hefty price, man.
It's going to be a hefty price. Here's where the Yankees get themselves into trouble because, first of all, if they're going to trade either Torres or Andujar for a Luis Castillo, it's going to be Andujar.
It has to be Andujar.
The Yankees are not trading Gleyber Torres.
It's not even close. You can't. He's untradeable. He's untouchable at this point. Yeah.
The Yankees could also either just go ahead and not get Castillo because there was talks about Andujar switching positions. Because if Gio Urshela we already know that his glove is raw.
Yeah.
So the question now is can his bat produce like it did last year? Okay. Torres is going to be at short because the Yankees are still on the fence of what they're going to do about if they're going to bring back Didi. So now you kind of have a gap at second base because now you have DJ LeMahieu who proved in the playoffs he could play a serviceable first base.
Yeah.
So do you train Andujar to play second base? I mean, no offense. I think it's a lot safer putting him at second than it would be trying to put him at third.
Yeah.
So, and you got to remember, what was it last year where, not last year, but the year before, where Miguel Andujar almost hit 40 doubles, which was actually almost tied for the.
He was close to Rookie of the Year, wasn't he?
He was close to Rookie of the Year, and he almost broke Joe DiMaggio's Yankee record for most doubles as a rookie.
Wow.
So the talent is there, but you're going to have to give some to get some.
Yeah.
So do you try to convince the Reds? And let's stop this mess right here. Well, the Reds are a good young team, and they're trying to fit. No, they're not, dude. Let's stop that nonsense.
They're trying.
Dude, it's every single year someone tries to convince me on how good that the Reds are this up-and-coming team in the Central.
They said that last year, remember? They said they got Puig now. And
and Joey Votto's really starting to come along.
Yeah.
I mean, we already know he's raw, but look at Sonny Gray. He's pitching well. We got Castillo and blah, 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 and this and that. Dude, they still finished fourth in the freaking Central.
Yeah, they weren't even close. They were sellers. Yeah,
they were sellers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They went out and got Yasiel Puig and then turned around.
And they traded him for Bauer.
Bauer, right.
Yeah.
It was a throwaway move, and it's just like, okay, well, I guess we'll just take Bauer. You still finished fourth in the league.
And I will also say this, even if you are contending, why can't you trade a player for maybe two major league ready guys possibly one major league ready guys and like 3 prospects.
Right.
To me, that's still a good deal. And the thing about Castillo is, it's not necessarily your case shouldn't be, oh, the Reds are going to be so good. Your case should be, man, Castillo is going to be so good that we need to wait for this guy, right? Because we might not be good right now, or we might not be good this year, but when we are good, he's going to be good for us. I still see, like, if you're an organization that's on the cusp, and to me, the Reds they still got a lot of work to do, because they did the whole Puig deal with they were buyers last offseason. One of the surprise buyers, right? They went out of their way to bring in some guys. It didn't really do much for them. Right. So I think and to a certain extent, I think the Yankees feel a little bit of pressure now, because they understand that right now the Red Sox are vulnerable, very vulnerable right now. We don't know what type of changes the Red Sox make. They're still thinking about maybe trading Mookie. They're still maybe thinking about.
I don't even think at this point, if it's they're maybe trying to. I think that's going to be in the.
They
works.
Have to. Yeah.
I think they have to.
Yeah. To me right now, the Red Sox, their approach now, and it's crazy to say, their approach now is going to be more aligned with the Rays than it was the Yankees, right? Yep. The last couple of years, they tried to be the Yankees since the couple World Series runs they made. They said, fuck it, we got the money now, we might as well just spend it. Right. But I think their approach now, and even when they hired this guy who was one of the lead guys for the Rays, they want to be more, a little bit more fiscally responsible. So I think they can't pay Mookie. They're going to have to trade him. And I don't think they're going to trade him to the Yankees, but I think the Yankees see this sort of window opening now where they can clearly sort of run, because the Blue Jays aren't really going to be doing anything for you anytime soon. The Baltimore Orioles aren't going to be doing anything anytime soon. And I don't think you're yet scared of the Rays. Like, the Rays do come in every single year and do put together really good regular seasons, but do you have a reason to be scared of the Rays at this point? Right. Honestly, they haven't given us a reason to be scared of them quite yet. So I think the Yankees have a window opening for themselves here.
I'm gonna address 2 comments here made by Brian. The one he just made was Mookie to the Mets. I wish, but Will Ponds and Brody could mess up a wet dream. Yeah, dude. The Mets. I want to bring up the Mets because. I keep thinking about them and comparing them to the glory days of the Atlanta Braves with their pitching. But then Brian earlier said that the Reds are basically the Bucks of the NFL, and Brian is a diehard Bucks fan, but Brian has been crying over the last
about the Bucks.
Not so much just about Tampa. See, that's where I get pissed off.
Oh, Sado. Okay, sorry.
That's where I get pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that he's always upset about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. It's all about what Jameis Winston does and doesn't do.
They need a scapegoat,
Thank you, Zach Mack.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it is royally pissing me off that every time, and I know we're kind of all over the place, but I want to get this off my chest now because there's a lot of people watching. I don't want to wait till later.
Yes, sir.
It royally pisses me off that every Bucks group that I go into, okay, let's say the Bucks lose on Sunday. There's a good chance it's going to happen. Yeah. They play Atlanta. Let's say they lose Sunday.
Wow,
okay?
You really think so? Oh, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Let's say that they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bucks lose to Atlanta. Let's say if Jameis throws 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but our defense gives up 38 points. Do you know what the Bucks fans groups are going to talk about?
Those 2 interceptions.
To 2 goddamn interceptions. Yeah. That is what pisses me off so much about Bucks fans. Are we not watching the same game? All Buck fans can talk about is Jameis fumbles the ball, and Jameis throws interceptions, and Jameis does this. Let's not talk about the game on Sunday. Why did Jamel Dean, who was the highest rated defensive back 2 weeks ago against Arizona, didn't see 1 sniff on Sunday against the Saints?
Wow.
Oh, and who tore up the Saints on Sunday? Michael Thomas, who some people are considering as being an MVP candidate. Yeah. Exactly. Doesn't make sense, right? Jameis's fault, though, right? Okay. His coach, Bruce Arians, the guy that's usually on the same sideline as Jameis Winston, he said of the 18 interceptions that Jameis Winston has thrown, he would blame 10 of those on Jameis, and the other 8 are on the wide receivers, either cutting out routes, not running the right routes, or doing something stupid. You would think the Bucs fans would realize that? No. Why? Because like blinded idiots, they sit there and all they worry is about Jameis does this, Jameis does that. Yeah. Because I didn't know that Jameis also had to play offensive line, sacked 36 times, right? That's the highest in the NFL. Yeah, all Jameis Winston's fault, right? Yeah. Okay.
And I'll tell you, man, I've watched some of his plays. Even he's pressured every play. Like, he doesn't really ever have a clean pocket. And the crazy part is when he does have a clean pocket, he's still nervous. Because he's like, you know what? I don't know what to do. This is crazy.
Here's the funny thing. Yeah. You're not even a Bucs fan, and you notice that, right?
Yeah.
You would think that Bucs fans that actually sit and watch the game would notice that. Oh, no, they don't notice that. They're like, well, I guess. Here's what they do. This is what Bucs fans do. Buck fans will go off and they will look at a guy like Deshaun Watson, who for kind of a little bit of his career hasn't really had the offensive line, right? Okay, I'll give you that. How many Super Bowl titles does Deshaun Watson have? I want to talk about Super Bowl titles. I'm not talking about playoff appearances. Playoff appearances to me is like a participation trophy in a 10U league.
Yeah, I hate.
All right, you guys came out and played. You did a great job.
We had a good regular season.
You had a good regular season. Here's a medal. That's what a playoff. I don't care about the playoffs, dude. Yeah. Like I'm like, let me not say that. I care about the playoffs, but if all I'm going to do is keep going to the playoffs, let's ask Andy Dalton how his legacy looks really good for making the playoffs 4 or 5 times and having 0 wins. Yeah. Let's talk to Matt Stafford in the 2 times he's been to the playoffs. How the Lions haven't won a playoff game, ladies and gentlemen, since when George W. Bush was in office. HW, and he's dead.
I was under 5 years old. Yes.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to explain to Buccaneers fans. Unless you are watching the entire game, you are not going to sit here, because here's where I've read some stories. I've read some stories where people say the Bucs should go out and get a veteran quarterback like Phillip Rivers, but not draft a quarterback for the future.
That's
First
crazy.
off, this is the draft class to want to do that. A.
Absolutely.
B, how is Phillip Rivers really doing right now in Los Angeles?
All the quarterbacks you could target, you want to target the guy who's been throwing away games for his team consistently.
And this is why I say that when it comes to me and some of the other Bucs fans, we're not cut from the same cloth. Right. Because as much as, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm not upset sometimes when Jameis does stupid stuff. Yeah. I'm not only focused, like the Rams game. Jameis Winston had a damn near flawless game. He had 1 interception that was to return back for a touchdown, which ultimately evened itself out when Ndamukong Suh ran that fumble back for a touchdown. Yeah. You know, all the Bucs fans can talk about the pick 6. How about the game against Seattle? Jameis Winston had another flawless game in Seattle, except for the 1 fumble that when he was hit by his own guy, Donovan Smith, who can't block Jadeveon Clowney coming off the line. What do the Bucs fans talk about? The 1 fumble. Never mind, Jameis Winston went out and threw. Or here's another one. Instead of just saying we got lucky on that 1 touchdown pass where Bashard Perriman happened to be at the right place at the right time, you know what they say? Well, that ball should have been picked off. Are you guys stupid?
Yeah, you know what?
Are you guys stupid? This is why it's so hard for me to talk Buccaneers with other Buccaneers fans. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people that really want Jameis gone. Everyone's like, oh, he's an idiot. He makes wrong decisions, blah, blah, this and that. But let's go to the game on Sunday real quick. I know we're reviewing, but let's go to the game on Sunday. Yeah. Mike Evans caught himself yelling at Jameis Winston, who, by the way, didn't get a roughing the passer call when he got hit underneath the knee where you can't hit the quarterback.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Real stupid,
he fell into the knee. Yeah.
Right. And now he's limping around. So he makes a bad pass to Mike Evans to get intercepted. And Mike Evans caught himself trying to get off the field yelling. Mike Evans can go blow that out of his ass, because this is the same Mike Evans who on 3rd and 2, who dropped a wide open pass and was a guy with him in 5 yards.
Yeah, here's the thing about sports fans, and it seems like Bucs fans and Bears fans have this in common, is they want to look for the scapegoat of that week.
Yes.
Who's the guy we can blame? Oh, Eddie Pinero's the guy this week. Oh, thank God. Oh, you know what? Our team sucks. Mitch Trubisky is terrible. We need a new quarterback. My big thing right now with sports fans is just that quite frankly, they don't know what they're watching a lot of times. So when you're watching, you're thinking, oh, that was an interception. The quarterback did a terrible job there. And in reality, there's so many factors that go into that throw, that interception, and everything. Now, with that being said, are Trubisky and Winston underperforming this year? Absolutely. Yes. I think there's no doubt about it that you need a lot more out of those two guys if you're their teams. But at the same time, am I right? Like, for example, with Winston, I only catch as much as I can on the red zone, or when they're in the red zone, or when they're threatening, or when they have big plays. But I think the one common thread with the Buccaneers is just simply that I feel like they have a hard time. They're almost out of place. Yeah. Like, they're not synchronized, and it's even on the defensive side of the ball where you've got some plays where they're doing, they're playing really good defense, and then you've got other plays where there's a guy who's open for 20 yards. So it seems like right now the players and the new coaching staff are still transitioning. I know it's crazy to say 12 weeks into the season that you're still transitioning. Right. But it is true. When you have a new coach, and you did have training camp, and you did have the preseason, you did have the first 11 or 12 games, but man, you got to understand that it's really tough to run an NFL team, and you've got to figure some things out. The things that happened with Nagy last year in the Bears, those don't happen every year. What happened with McVay, they don't happen every year. We had Mike asking us about Sean McVay, like what's going on with Sean McVay, what's going on with the Rams. Listen, man, this is a hard league to play in. This is why guys are getting fired and cut and bench and all this stuff, because man, this league chews you up and spits you out, and you got to do better than just looking for a scapegoat. You got to understand, man, Jameis, he's getting attacked back there. And you know what? Even when he does have a clean pocket, the guy doesn't feel comfortable. He's seeing, and he is seeing ghosts right now. And here's another thing about Jameis that really drives me crazy is even when he is getting abused, he uses that as an excuse to not really set his feet, not really do the best mechanically, right? That's something that he's gifted with a really nice arm, so he's able to make throws that are sort of off base. It's similar to Trubisky in a way, because Trubisky does have an okay enough arm where he can sort of do things. But when you're set up and when you set your feet and you do, you go through all of the mechanics, it makes you a better quarterback. And I feel like he's not able to do that right now.
Brian says, when you haven't been to the playoffs in 12 years, you will take a berth by any means, bro. We are desperate. No, I don't like that. I want the Buccaneers to not be a flash in the pan.
Right.
You see what
I'm saying? Would you rather be the Bears where we were okay and now we suck?
See, look, you got to go to the glory days of the Bucs, okay? When we were in the glory days of the Bucs in 99 when we got screwed out of the Burt Emanuel catch, okay? Sure. They went to we were in the NFC playoffs, or the playoffs. You're in the playoffs. The NFC championship game. Then you go to the playoffs in 2000. Then you went to the playoffs again in 2001. But then you brought in a coach that could get everyone to combine together, and you went in the Super Bowl in 2003 or in 2002. That's consistency. I don't want to be a flash in the pan team, just be like, the Bucs made the playoffs, guys, and go right back to being 6-10 and 5-11. I want this team, not Jameis, but this team to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Develop and grow, so we can continuously be a threat in the NFC South and continuously be a threat in the NFC. But we can't do that when we're sitting here trying to get rid of a 25-year-old quarterback at that. I wonder what life would have been like for the Indianapolis Colts if they would have given up on Peyton Manning after 5 years with him. Sure. Because the great Hall of Fame.
And he looked bad.
Thank you, Mac. And that's what a lot of a lot of Bucs fans, when you hit them with stats, they don't want to accept the stats. Yeah. So let's talk about the stats. Do you know that actually Peyton Manning threw more interceptions in his first 5 years than where Jameis Winston was at? But here's facts. What did the Indianapolis Colts do basically that year before that almost drove Peyton Manning to the career he had now? They drafted Edgerrin James. So now they have a running game. So how does that tie into the Bucs? The year the Bucs went 9-7, who did they have? Doug Martin. What did Doug Martin do? He only ran for the second most yards in the NFL. what has the Buccaneers done in run game since then? Nothing, and this year, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So we're trying to make Jameis Winston be this Superman of our team.
You want him to be the savior.
But he has no offensive line. Yeah. He's got world-class wide receivers, Mike Evans, OJ Howard, dropping wide open passes and dropping.
That OJ Howard, that was.
Come on, dude, that ball was in your chest and out on your back and it's picked off.
That was one of the weirdest.
But here's Buccaneers fans. That's another interception by Jameis Winston. Are you guys not watching the same game that we're watching?
What is he supposed to do in that
situation? When Bruce Arians just sat there and told you that maybe of those 18 interceptions that you want to keep going in Bucs groups and talking about, maybe 10 of them is fault. Well, there goes the one that wasn't his fault. OJ Howard has at least 3 balls that he's dropped that is turning into interceptions. Yeah. At least 3. And then in the game against the Titans, there's 2 plays where Bashard Perryman cut the route off at the end of the game, and one where Godwin went low and he's supposed to go high, and Jameis threw it to the high spot where he's supposed to be at. Right. But you can't tell that to Bucs fans because all they see is interceptions. Yeah. That's why I hate talking with certain Buccaneers fans because of lines like that. I'm desperate to get in the playoffs. Right. No, I'm actually desperate for my team to actually look good so that I can be like, you know what, we're destined for something. Like you said, like with the Bears, a team that went 12-4 last year. You know, they make a couple of pieces here and there. Yeah. You're thinking that now they can grow into being a Super Bowl team. I don't want to be just some flash in the pan. Yeah. And that's why Bucs fans piss me off royally, because I'm just so sick and tired of this Jameis bashing when there's plenty of blame to go around. Yeah. The Buccaneers are 32nd in the NFL in scoring defense. Guess whose fault that is, apparently? Jameis Winston. The Buccaneers last week couldn't get pressure. The only sack that they had in the first maybe in the entire game was a play on Taysom Hill. You know, the guy that the guy called that the Bears won.
The Bears should.
They didn't even touch Drew Brees, but somehow that's Jameis Winston's fault. It's always Jameis's fault. Yeah. But then people are like, "Well, you're just making an excuse for Jameis." No, I'm watching a game that you're apparently not seeing. Yeah. You're clearly watching the game with blinders. I'm watching the entire game. When Jameis messes up, yes, I'll say it. Now, if the Bucs did want to go for quarterback in the draft, this isn't even open for debate. I would take Justin Herbert in a heartbeat because I feel he's the best out of this class.
People are really big on Joe Burrow right now. Like, really
Let him be. Because the more you're on Joe Burrow, the more you sleep on Justin Herbert. And if Bruce Arians and Jason Light really wanted to go with a quarterback, I would go with Justin Herbert, franchise tag Jameis. And then if Jameis doesn't work out next year, now I got this guy that sat out a year. You know, the guys like Patrick Mahomes did. You know, that name keeps getting brought up. Maybe some guy never heard of him. Jesus Mahomes. Now there's this other guy's named Moses Rogers. You know, in Green Bay. He's doing all he did was sit a year while he was underneath. Let me see. Drew Brees. You know, as great as Drew Brees was, a lot of people don't remember it took him 4 or 5 years to figure things out and you know put him around. He was
a backup for like 3 years.
Thank you, dude. You can't speak facts with Bucs fans because they're desperate. Which is why we are not cut from the same cloth.
Let me put it in perspective for Bucs fans, guys. Would you rather be the Bears fans right now? Because let me tell you, last year didn't feel good. You know, being in the playoffs didn't do anything for me. You know why? Because we lost in the playoffs, and nothing feels worse than the way the Bears lost last season.
Yep.
So, is it the way we lost? Yeah, but it's also that we lost, and you know what? Next year, we're going to have to play 16 games all over again. And those 16 games can go completely different, and they have gone completely differently. Your goal, word to the wise, your goal as a fan should be long-term success. You should be looking at teams like, obviously, the Patriots, obviously, Seattle, obviously, you know, even Kansas City to a certain extent.
Obviously, San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean, here's another thing about San Francisco. No one knew San Francisco was going to be good this year. I mean, we did. Right. We paid attention enough, but I'm just saying this general fan base of just I play fantasy football with my office buddies. They came in saying, "Oh, San Francisco was no good last year. What are they going to do this year?" Well, all we said was, "Watch out for these guys, man. They're going to be good because they've got their draft picks up front now, and the offense is going to start clicking." Next thing you know, they're one of the best teams in the league, and they're set up really well for the next 3 or 4 years. Yep. They've got Jimmy G. They're doing all this with like run of the mill running backs right now. They don't, they had to trade them for a number 1 wide receiver. you need to look for long-term success. And right now, honestly, neither of our teams are really set up for that. The Bears, dude, are in trouble. Like the Bears, I hate to be the bearer of bad news to Bears fans, but like we don't have enough money next year. You know, we're going to have to pay Khalil Mack a lot of money. We're going to have to, you know, if you want to move on from Mitch Trubisky, that's fine. But you're in a tough position if you want to go out into the free agent market and try and get, you know, I hear Bears fans talk about Teddy Bridgewater or you know, some of these other guys that may come out next year. Good luck, dude. You don't have $17 million a year to spend on a guy like that. So, you know, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I don't want to put this back out into the universe, but the Bears might be in, like, you know, trade Khalil Mack territory.
I'm still working on that trade. I'm still working on the financials. Yeah. I have not forgotten about it.
I was corrected by one of my buddies that said there's still a better trade out there, which is apparently Leonard Floyd is owed $13 million next year. That would do a really good. Apparently, he's one of the big ones that the Cam Newton trade may happen, which is give him Leonard Floyd in a pick. I don't necessarily. If I'm Carolina, why would I want to do that?
Exactly.
You know, I want to be realistic. You know, I don't want to live in this pipe dream. I think fans try and live in this pipe dream of Jameis needs to be perfect. You know what? Here's the thing we said constantly about Jameis earlier this season. He's not a game manager. No. He is a game breaker. We saw it in the first five weeks of the season. That he had, he was inconsistent, but he had games where, man, he was killing the Panthers on that Thursday night game.
Thank you.
You know, he was and if you look at his stats, I mean, obviously turnovers are no good. You don't want to see interceptions. You don't want to see fumbles. But if you look at the peripheral, you know, numbers around his yards, around his touchdowns, and what and you take into account that OJ Howard's been a bum all season. You know, you've got drops still from Godwin and from Evans, and Brashad. I mean, you don't have a third receiver right now. They let go of Humphrey. And, you know, it's not like Humphrey's being, you know, a world beater in Tennessee, but, you know, he was an important part of what you did, and you let him go. And we saw, I liked, what was it, Miller? Who's
Scotty Miller.
You know, they need a guy like that. They need a guy who's got, you know, he's a scat
He's still
guy.
raw. He's still really raw.
Yeah, you could tell, but to me, they need a guy. He fits sort of the Edelman role, right?
Yeah.
You need a guy that's close. What the best thing that Bruce Arians could have done and what he can do this offseason is say, I need Jameis Winston's best friend. I need a guy in the Amendola, in the Welker, in the Edelman sort of mold, where this guy can trust, even a tight end. Like you know what? I know Cameron Braid, he loves Cameron Braid, and Cameron Braid and him are, you know, have a good rapport. But the best thing that Jameis can do is get a guy that's just always close to the line of scrimmage, always there for him to check down to. And the offense, honestly, you know, Bruce Arians, he has to start to say, you know what? I've got to make this less complicated at some point. You know, I've got to try and simplify things.
I got to sit with Byron Leftwich and figure this out.
And here's another thing is I'm very frustrated by this, and I'm sure you are, because you watch enough football and know that this is not a good idea. But, you know, when you're first and goal at the 1 or 2 or 3 yard line and you're play actioning to, you know, a fade in the end zone or something like that, this is not the way you want to play football. Byron Leftwich has to understand that it doesn't matter who the running back is. It doesn't matter if your offensive line sucks. I get it. But, you know, at some point you have to say, I have a play in my playbook that I know will get 2 yards, that I know will get 3 yards, that I know will get 4 yards. That's what bothers me about Matt Nagy. You know, this guy tries to be cute too much. You know, he's bringing Khalil Mack on the field, and he wants Khalil Mack here, and he wants Akeem Hicks as a fullback. You know, dude, just get 2 yards.
Right.
You know, just get 2 yards. And I think that's what the
you don't have an
Buccaneers
offensive line that's capable of getting your guy 2 yards. I'm glad you brought that up because no, it wasn't last week. It was the week before. The Bucs were first and goal at the 1.
Yeah.
And they tried to run a slant with Godwin, and it almost got picked. I was like, dude, run the ball.
Run the ball.
Like, dude, okay, if you don't trust Ronald Jones because he just magically fumbled the ball, okay, that's fine. Dude, Peyton Barber is not a capable enough flipping running back to run the ball in for 1 yard. And eventually they did when they put Vita Vea at the end, you know, the Samoan bulldozer, and freaking they got in for the 2 yards. But that's my point, dude. It's just like, I feel where the frustration should be for this team is not, and I feel like it's at the wrong. It's in the wrong feet. You know, I don't think Jameis deserves half the hell. And here's the thing, Cameron Braid. I'm glad you brought that name up. When he was talking to Jenna Lane, who is the Bucs beat reporter, you know, for ESPN, he told her that he admitted that he felt that they have let Jameis Winston down all year long.
I mean,
they're like, dude, we dropped a lot of passes that he's thrown to us. In the game against San Francisco, DeMar sorry-ass Dotson was called for 2 holding penalties in what would have been touchdowns, and he did it again in the game against Seattle. Yeah. But we don't talk about that. What do we talk about? The fumbles, the interceptions, this and that. It's just so dumb, dude. Yeah. Watch the full game. Critique the full game. And then let's talk. Because we can't win games when we only rush the ball 8 times a game. We're not going to win it.
No. We're not going to win it. Listen, it's very hard to win in this league without running the ball. Exactly. And if you aren't running the ball, the reason why you're not running the ball is because you do such a good job at passing the ball.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. And you know what, Nick? Because I do want to transition really quick, but also because you mentioned Rondé Barber just by accident. Let me just say something to Tiki Barber. And I don't know if you saw this week. Tiki Barber has a show, I think, with Chris Sims now. I want to say it's either Lefko or Sims. It might be Sims. And Tiki Barber went on the radio and basically said, well, this whole Colin Kaepernick thing. He is very unlikable. Now, let me just say something to everyone that's watching and listening that doesn't know much about Tiki Barber. Tiki Barber left his pregnant wife she was 8 months pregnant with twins for an intern, a blonde bombshell intern, and left his wife, divorced her, and then married this intern that he cheated on his wife with. Tiki Barber, maybe don't talk about likability anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe don't talk about
in glass houses shouldn't be the one to be
let's not let's not throw any stones there, Mr. Tiki. Because let me just say something. Rondé doesn't even fuck with Tiki. Okay?
I
don't think he does. I really don't.
Like, look, you're my brother.
You're my brother, but you're a clown right now. And by the way, he loves going on Fox News. He loves doing all this. That's all fine and dandy. But dude, keep Colin Kaepernick's name out your mouth. If you can't even stay with your wife who's pregnant with twins of 8 months, and you're leaving her for interns, don't talk about likability, my guy.
Dude, the one thing that I've kind of realized, especially when it comes to sports and politics, is that I don't think there's a name in the world that will tear a country apart more than Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like you can say Donald Trump, but I think Colin Kaepernick has more or less taken over for the Donald.
So polarizing.
Because if there's anybody right now that I will almost say that their feelings have really been hurt, it has been Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, man.
Because Stephen A. has taken the biggest pounding out of this whole Kaepernick situation. So if you haven't been listening, Stephen A. Smith more or less went on... It was first take at first. At first it was first take, but then I heard his feelings again about it on the Wingo and Golick show in the morning because I was listening to it on the way to work, and he kind of repeated what he said. The thing is Stephen A. Smith was kind of upset with Colin because they're saying that Colin has always been talking about he wants to get back into the NFL. Yeah. And then the NBA comes with this crazy ass scheme to when this thing should have been done in on a Tuesday when you knew that the scouts were free.
Every single one of these workouts happens on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday. You managed to do this on a Saturday. Then apparently there was a waiver that was given to Colin, basically saying that if he got hurt during his workout, then the NFL, then he can't sue the NFL for workers'
it's even more complicated than that, Nick. The verbiage in the one that they wanted him to sign was that he can't sue for any reason.
Right.
That was the really troubling verbiage. All of these people who are saying that the waiver that he gets is the standard waiver are wrong.
Right.
We've already verified that this waiver is abnormal.
Right.
And this whole thing was abnormal.
Right.
This was a show. Let's call it what it is, Nick. The NFL, and I hate to say this, but Jay-Z and all these guys, Tiki Barber's a part of that coalition, by the way. this coalition of what they feel is a representative of black people. I think I don't necessarily know why they need Charlemagne the God and Jay-Z and Tiki Barber to represent black people in the room.
I want none of those three to represent me.
I don't know if you're a part of the black delegation. Are you choosing those three guys?
No.
But I'm just saying that the NFL,
especially Charlemagne
the God, yeah, the NFL with contact with Jay-Z and some of these guys, put this charade of a show together, which is we're going to show the world that, see, we didn't collude, and we're going to call all of these teams, and they're going to have scouts come out. And then, by the way, here's another thing. I had a guy on my Facebook who basically said something along the lines of like, Colin Kaepernick doesn't want to play.
I read that. You did pretty much put him in.
That's my biggest pet peeve about dudes, man. Is like, dude, don't get your feelings hurt so much that you start to lose your rational thought process. Mm-hmm. You don't know what Colin Kaepernick wants.
Right.
And you know what? We have to take his word for what he wants. And all he said for 3 years is he wants to play.
Yep.
Now, whether or not you believe, one of his points was like, oh, well, Colin had every opportunity to cooperate with the process, and he could. First of all, dude, he doesn't have to cooperate with shit.
Yeah.
Because these dudes are the ones who have been actively seeking to keep him out of the league for all of this time.
Right.
So if you think Colin Kaepernick owes the NFL, because one of the other things they were saying was, well, why did he move his workout 50 miles away? He was actively trying to get teams to no, because at the last second, him and his people had to put together a field. They had to at the last second when they realized, man, the NFL's trying to fuck us right now, and they're gonna try and make us look bad. No, we're gonna make them look bad. You know what? We're gonna find a field that's nearby, and we're gonna have a workout. And by the way, another big part of the reason why Kaepernick was pissed is because they wanted to cut the workout. Yep. They wanted to cut the video, and he doesn't want that, because let's say he, and by the way, I think he only throws around 60 throws. If you're gonna show a guy's talent, show all 60 throws, right? Yeah. But their plan was to basically put a like a damn and one mixtape together.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's a workout, and if you have scouts available there, they don't want the media there. This is all fishy, man. And I'll tell you what, this has to do with my upbringing, but I trust people who help people more than I trust people who don't help people.
Right.
The NFL is a crooked organization who has actively fucked dozens and dozens of players every single year out of their paychecks, out of this, out of that, for whatever reason they want to, because they're dictators. And Colin Kaepernick has constantly proven that he's a man of the people. And here's another thing, man. In another, when Muhammad Ali, I wasn't old enough to be around during Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, me either, to be honest with you.
But Muhammad Ali was one of those guys that everyone hated. When he made the transition from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali, there was a lot of contention around the Nation of Islam and just sort of, the new persona that he tried to put on for himself.
Right.
And what you saw was just this rapid and just serious hate for this guy, Muhammad Ali, who basically all he said was like, listen, he is very close to his roots, and he didn't know his roots.
Right.
Because that is the real thing that we don't, as non-black people, you have to, understand that we don't understand what it's like to be black.
Right.
And we don't understand what it's like to be the ancestor of slaves. So, we have to really approach these things with that type of thought process. And when you're not approaching it with that, which again, the media and everyone around Muhammad Ali hated him.
Right.
And the reporters actively tried to call him Cassius to make him mad and to goat him. And there was a lot of things. And what happens 50 or 60 years later? All of these same guys who were talking shit about Muhammad Ali and calling him Cassius, what were they doing? He was a legendary man, one of the best men to ever walk there. And I genuinely think, Nick, in another 10, 15, 20, 30 years, we're going to be talking about Colin Kaepernick similarly than the way we're talking about Muhammad Ali right now.
And I love how everyone's like, oh, well, Colin Kaepernick, the reason why he didn't have a job is because he sucked. A guy that throws 16 touchdowns to 4 interceptions is far from garbage.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, well, he lost his job, to Blaine Gabbert. Well, let me go ahead and fix you on that. First off,
he never did, no.
First off, no, it happened. Blaine Gabbert did at one point took over for Colin, but that's because let's see who's running the team.
It was
Chip
politics. Yeah, exactly.
So let's go ahead and throw that in there. You're trying to tell me in that West Coast Oregon style offense that Blaine Gabbert was better than Colin? He wasn't, but keep on believing
Colin,
yourself.
And remember,
on that.
Colin was a scapegoat of that. Remember,
he
was getting paid a lot, and people were pissed because he was getting paid a lot, and they're like, "Well, he's getting paid too much to suck this much," and they pressured him into getting sad.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, he didn't lose that job because that team sucked.
Yeah,
I mean,
they were garbage.
And
that's the end of it. Stop looking at the record.
I love when dudes become scouts too. I love when dudes become scouts. You know, Colin Kaepernick is no good in the league anymore. Like that dude who jumped on my Facebook, he's one of those guys. This guy's just not that good anymore. Matt Moore got a call. He was teaching English classes.
Dude, Brian Hoyer was sucked balls
terrible
for the Indianapolis Colts. You're gonna tell me that he's better?
You didn't hear a peep. You didn't hear how, oh my God, how is Brian Hoyer even in the league? You didn't hear any of that.
Nope.
Why? Just simply because people have this irrational hate for Colin because, again, we've talked about it in previous shows. It's like his movement has been sort of co-opted to be something that it isn't.
Yeah.
And you got these people who are very passionate about the military, very passionate about police. And, what I would say to them is like, man, you guys really have to understand what this guy's actually talking about and what he protested for and what he's been saying for the last 3 years and what he's been doing, more importantly.
Everyone looked at what he did. No one focused on the message that he was trying to say, and on the fact of where was I? They looked at how he did it.
Right.
They didn't look at why he was doing it. But then people don't believe what he was standing for is happening.
Right. And can I also...
Bro, just turn on your computer or turn on the TV, bro.
Look through the news.
That's all you have to do.
Look through the news the last 2 weeks.
Just because you may have black friends and it may not happen to them does not mean it's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's not act like that there wasn't a problem. But, no one wants to, again, everyone wants to be deaf in a lot of things. First of all, let's stop forgetting that there was a United States soldier who served that country that told Colin, like, look, sitting down is probably very disrespectful, but I feel like if you took a knee, it wouldn't be as disrespectful to the flag. He's the one that
said something along the lines of what Marines do, what we do is we kneel in respect, right? So what he did in his mind was saying, you know what, I'm going to do this protest, but I'm actually going to stay respectful, right? Yes. And I don't know if you remember, but the first time he did it, that soldier was actually to the left of him with his arm on Colin Kaepernick. And another thing that really bothers me is that, man, if you go to Twitter, it is half racist dudes calling him the N-word and saying that he's no good and he's a scourge to the earth, and the other half are, believe it or not, service people who are saying, I fight for this guy's right to say what he's saying and to believe what he believes. And, the crazy part is, man, I think people get so emotional. People have, my dad's in the military. My dad is a police officer. My uncle, lost his life here. And I think what happens is, when you're tricked into thinking he's saying things about these guys and he's disrespecting these guys, you become so passionate about it because it's your family, right? It's this tightly knit sort of thing. So, I'm not to say that I don't understand that backlash. I'm saying you're not understanding what he's saying and what the situation is. And and I think that's the thing that's come out of this. And I will say this openly on the record. I really hope Colin Kaepernick gets a job. I really think he deserves a job. I don't think there's any reason he should have been out of the league the last 3 years. I think he could have been a backup very easily for multiple teams in this league over the last 3 years.
Agreed.
So, I think if you let's put everything politically driven, racially driven, socially driven aside. Let's just talk about football now. This guy deserves to be in the league.
Exactly. But yeah, dude, there's no one that has taken like the worst pounding in America than Stephen A. Smith. So much so
Owens,
that T.O. went on the first take and told that Max Kellerman was more black than Stephen A.
Which is funny, but it's a little disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful. And then it went to where Stephen A. Smith said he didn't want to talk to any guests. He was going to leave it open for the fans to want to talk to him on his show. Yeah. Like I
don't blame Stephen A. for that.
His feelings were really
hurt. You could tell by his reaction and you could tell when he said it, Max's face was like, "Oh shit, Stephen's about to go off." Right. But you know what? Here's the thing I want to say about Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is a guy who's made a name for himself in this realm of sports,
Right.
right? He's one of, I have to give credit to Stephen A. Smith. He's one of the most recognizable sports journalists, sports personalities, analysts, whatever you want to call him, in the world.
Right.
What I will say is that, honestly, man, Stephen A. is not really right a lot. He's wrong. He's wrong a lot more than he's right.
Right.
Not to say that makes him bad, because quite frankly, Nick, that's what this game is. What we do, we understand that we're going to be wrong a lot on the show, right?
Yep.
We know we're going to say a lot of things that are going to turn out to be bullshit later.
Yep.
It's not for lack of facts. It's just because that's what this game is, right? That's what sports is. It's just anything can happen in this stuff. But, Stephen A. Smith is wrong a lot more than he's right. And I think he was wrong about his Colin Kaepernick take. I think he saw that he was going to get more fan reaction by saying that because quite frankly, and I don't, maybe you can speak on this, but I immerse myself in Black Twitter because that's my favorite portion of Twitter. But it seems like Black people aren't fucking with Stephen A. Smith like they used to after this right now. And it seems like, I think Stephen A. is probably like, you know what, man, at this point, I might as well just pander to the base that is still fucking with me, which, again, a lot of people watch First Take. A lot of people like Stephen A. Smith. Even people who really, don't like his takes on stuff. People are like, you know what, I respect what this guy has to say, and I like he's a good enough personality. To me, he's wrong more than he's right. And he was wrong about the Kaepernick stuff.
Yeah, I think so, too. And you're right. He most definitely took a lot of backlash.
Yeah, a lot.
I mean,
I feel bad for him in a way. I feel bad for him in a way. I think his intentions weren't to negate Kaepernick,
right.
But I think that's what he ended up doing.
I think so too. But we'll get back into football. I wanted to bring that up because there were other Bucs fans that was listening. And I love speaking more than I like typing, so you can understand my emotion and how stupid Bucs.
And we'll get back
into
that when we do the Bucs game.
Will.
But before we transition from baseball fully, because next week, by the time we're on the show, this MLB Hot Stove shit is going to be cooking up really nicely. So what is your wish list right now for your Yankees? Who are the 3 or 4 guys, maybe 2 or 3 guys that you are really hoping for the Yankees to make serious runs at?
Me personally?
Yes, sir.
I would like, I obviously would like either a starting pitcher. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily have to be an ace. Like, I would love for Garrett Cole to come to New York.
Oh wow, yeah.
But if the pipe dream doesn't happen, I'm still high on Zach Wheeler, formerly of the Mets. I think he would be a great 4 or 5 for the Yankees starting staff. I don't know what they're gonna do if the Reds are going to even entertain trading Luis Castillo. But I know Brian Cashman has been kind of that GM. When he knows what he wants, he will go out and get it. So I can see that happening. But there's not too much of what I think the Yankees, because remember, this team last year was hurt for a long time. So I just think that the health for the Yankees is the more important issue. Miguel Andujar, if the Yankees decide not to move on from him, now would be a good time to let him learn second base. He can take all the errors and L's he wants to in spring training because that's what it's for.
Sure.
But I think the Yankees caught serious lightning in the bottle with the way Gio Urshela played offensively.
Yeah.
Because we knew his defense was there. We just didn't know where his offense was at. Yeah. So I think that they lucked out with Gio there, and I think they're going to keep him there. Torres moves over to short. If you get a young 40 doubles guy in Miguel Andujar, that works for me. And then you're going to get DJ LeMahieu at first base. So then you look at your outfield. Apparently they're talking to Brett Gardner, maybe coming back for one more year. Judge to stay healthy, Stanton to stay healthy. Aaron Hicks should be back in good enough time.
That's a nice outfield, man.
Right.
Really nice outfield.
From the Tommy John surgery. So he should be back somewhere around, kind of like what Didi was in that first month or so. So it's all, I think with the Yankees is all about health, because Dellin Betances may or may not be back with the Yankees. He's arbitration eligible. But my thing with Dellin is he's always hurt. Like last year, he had whatever shoulder issues he had. And then as soon as he was starting to get healthy, he tore the Achilles. Steven said as a pipe dream, he's signing in California. I don't think so.
Who's he, Garrett Cole?
Garrett Cole, and I don't think that's
etched
in stone, because remember, he said it himself. Hey, And then remember, CC Sabathia went to Garrett Cole to talk to Garrett Cole and say, hey, look, I'm from Anaheim too. But when I was a free agent from Milwaukee, I realized I wanted to go somewhere where I could win. Yeah. And he went to the Yankees. Yeah. No offense to everybody. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim is not that sexy of a destination to go play.
Or the Dodgers, quite frankly.
Right. I mean, because the Dodgers have been overrated, no offense to everybody, for at least the last... How do you, in 3 consecutive years, in 3 consecutive playoff series, have somebody celebrate at your house? You lost the World Series to Houston at home. Crazy. You lost the World Series to Boston at home. Yeah. And then you lost to the eventual World Series champion to the Nationals at home. Yeah. That's overrated to me. Yeah. The Dodgers can kiss my ass with that. The Angels, outside of Shohei Ohtani and the awesome, great Mike Trout, they have nothing to build on. Yeah. This is and I know Joe Madden is there, but I don't believe that Joe Madden is that great of a coach that Joe Madden is going to make the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim be an 80-win team to a threat in the AL West. And I just don't see it.
Maybe if the Astros won the World Series this year and Garrett got a ring out of it, then I would say, okay, now he's going to explore and just do his own thing. Yes. But the guy still wants a ring. The guy still wants to win. And if you're him, you really, when it comes to contenders in the AL, you really can't do much better right now than the Yankees. Because I'm telling you right now, this Astros story, we're only hitting the tip of the iceberg.
We really are.
We might be talking about like player suspensions. We might be talking about some serious stuff here, which again, they've launched a full investigation, and they're hoping that by the end of the year that they have sufficient evidence. They actually went back to the World Series DVDs that they made, and they literally are investigating the little area that's near the dugout, because they have a little area near the dugout with a monitor right near, because what a lot of people were saying was when the changeup call was coming, somebody was banging on what seemed to be like a trash can, right? So they have footage of that. The Astros are in deep trouble right now.
And apparently, I don't know if you saw this one, but it seemed to be what seemed to sound like harmless whistling. They're saying that whistling
was like a code.
It's a code of what was coming. So if it was a long whistle, that means there was a fastball.
Wow.
If it was kind of like a long stop, long whistle, it was a changeup. And when and they would do it kind of like right around when the pitcher was getting to his windup.
Yeah.
So the batter kind of knew of what was going to happen. And if you look at this video, especially on the changeup, so you get the whistle, the stop whistle, and as soon as that ball comes out, they know it's a changeup. Dude, that ball's freaking 500 feet in the left field.
And the crazy part is when the White Sox video that I watched, when the White Sox pitcher noticed that they had the sign and then they switched their signs, the Astros were way off. Like the hitters couldn't touch the pitchers. So, and by the way, I read this just before we walked in here. Apparently they have emails now of the executives in the Astros organization saying, how can we get this system set up? Essentially, they have emails of these guys colluding to do this. The problem is, and the crazy thing is, the Astros defense, which is the weakest defense in my opinion, is everyone does it. You're going to have to investigate everyone. Here's the thing. Yes, everyone steals signs. Not everyone has an intricate video and banging whistling system. So to me, this is completely different. I thought Nick Wright, who I really like. I like Nick Wright. You know who I'm talking about? The FS1 guys.
From First Things
First. Yeah. I really like Nick Wright. He's right a lot. And one thing that he said was, this is the biggest scandal in, I think, sports history. And here's why I'll say this. Because the Astros have been so successful over the last couple of years that they probably, they might have won themselves a World Series as a result of that.
Yes.
People want to bring up the 1908 Whites or Black Sox, whatever 1919 Black Sox, or whatever you want to call it. There's plenty of examples of some crazy things that have happened. I don't think there's anything that's been this in depth so far.
Right. Exactly. And the way that Rob Manfred has been talking, You can tell that he kind of has an idea of what he wants to do.
Yeah.
But he's just waiting for more of the concrete evidence to happen before he drops the hammer and doesn't want to look like a full idiot. But yeah, dude, I think the Astros, because it seems like every time you look up, somebody new is snitching.
Yep. Which is pretty crazy. And it's a former players. Like, yeah.
They're saying like, look, I'm not really trying to get suspended for the year. So, okay, I'll say what I need to say.
I'll say what I need to say, yeah.
Because I really think, check it like this. If Pete Rose got a lifetime ban from supposedly gambling on baseball, I'm not saying that this could necessarily be lifetime ban, but there has to be years involved.
And by the way, people who say that Pete Rose threw games, do the research. They haven't been able to substantiate that he threw games.
Right.
They make the assumption that when you're the manager of a team and you're actively gambling on your team, that you would be knowing, oh, you know what, we're probably gonna fucking lose tonight, so I'm gonna, So the thing is, people that want to say that Pete Rose was, actively throwing games for benefit, that's not substantiated yet. All we know is that he bet on a lot of games and majority of games. So yeah, no, you've got this is going to be a 3 or 4 year process.
Yeah.
I think, Nick. I think this is going to be one. You can't get rid. What are you going to do? Get rid of the organization? You can't do that.
Well, you're not going to do that.
You can't do
but
that.
I'm most definitely thinking that they're kind of the leader of the pack, so to speak. And AJ Hinch, I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
If you're AJ Hinch, like, you might have to give him a lifetime ban, right? Like, you can't just give him a 162 game ban anymore. Now that we know what we know and how this team and their front office went out and seeked ways to cheat, you've got to do something about that.
I mean, think about it like this: A-Rod got a 162 game ban. Basically, not even on hearsay, just on assumption. Mm-hmm. Well, we know you were involved with him, and we need to make you the example, so we're going to suspend you for 162
Yeah, just because he made the league look bad, essentially.
That's basically what it was. Yeah. And they felt salty, and they said, again, until A-Rod shows me that he failed the drug test, I don't believe he was on anything.
There was I read an article about that the whole Balco thing. Oh my God, the Hornets right now are just absolutely murdering the Bulls. After the Bulls were up by 10, they're now down by 6. Unbelievable. There's apparently this really interesting article about Balco that right when the technology came out, they apparently have these rapid release gummies, which are essentially you take them before the game, and by the end of the game, they're out of your system. This was something that was very specific to A-Rod, because A-Rod was very close to that Balco guy. I forget his name now. I think it's Victor Conti or something like that.
That's it.
Yeah, it's Victor Conti. So, but the thing about A-Rod is you're right. He's never failed the test. It's basically based on what we think we know.
Yes.
And as we both know, what you think you know can be completely wrong sometimes.
Exactly.
All right, Nick, let's just talk about one of our sponsors here. Obviously, we are a part of the PodRiver network, guys. So if you haven't already checked out podriver.com for our other shows, you will see Boss to Boss with Mira Wieslow, Local Level with our wonderful producer, Steve Wiley. Check out PodRiver Media on YouTube for new videos 4 times a week. They actually should be here shooting... doing some local level podcasts here at Reps as well. So guys, if you have a service or product that you would like to promote on any of our shows or on our network, PodRiver we offer simple sponsorship plans. So do us a favor, visit podriver.com and fill out the form for pricing information. Again, guys, podriver.com is the website, and you will see Boss to Boss with Mira Wieslow. You will obviously see our show, Mack and Black, and then Local Level with Steve Wiley as well. So again, guys, the website is podriver.com. Go out and Steve has put together a little nice little handout for our sponsorship plans. So just do us a favor, guys, podriver.com, and check it out.
Yes, so we're going to the NBA right now. I know you're talking about the Bulls. Dude, the Knicks are the freaking Spurs suck this year, but somehow the Knicks are making them look like the 2003 champions that they were. Yeah. So that's frustrating to watch or look at the score right now. The NBA is interesting again. We talked about a little bit about this off the air, and I saw this come up on my phone earlier today about the NBA potentially wanting to reseed during the playoffs.
They're getting bored. They're getting bored now.
Dude, I'm starting to get pissed because, dude, okay, first they were talking about 16 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that. I mean, you could, but at that point, why have an Eastern and Western Conference?
Right.
It negates the entire purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're going to
like
tell
other
me
than the All-Star game, why would you have an Eastern and Western Conference?
What's the point?
And a lot of people's point as well that WNBA has been doing this for a long time. The WNBA has been doing that, quite frankly, because they're a smaller league.
Thank you.
Let's just put it out there that I think they have half the teams of what the NBA does. So the reason why the WNBA, what they do is they play the whole season out, and then regardless of the conference 1 through 8, they get ranked. The reason they do that is because they don't have enough teams. So we have enough teams. Why even have a regular season where you're playing specific? Like now what you're going to have to do is you can't have where you're playing outside the conference only twice now, right? You're going to have to figure out a schedule where you're essentially playing all the teams equally now.
Yep.
If they do that, fine. But then again, why have conferences, you know?
Right. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know why Adam Silver is so gung-ho.
Money.
Like first off, and I hate to be this dude, maybe I'm in the minority of this, but I know it's a huge argument about the NFL playoffs where, like, let's take remember when Beast Mode had that run against the New Orleans Saints?
Yeah.
Dude, that team was what, like 8-8 or 7-9 or something?
7-9, I think.
And then the New Orleans Saints were 12-4. And the only reason why they were the 5th seed is because Carolina went 13-3 that year.
That's the whole thrill of the playoffs.
Exactly.
Anything can happen.
And everyone's like, oh, well, the Saints, it was unfair for the Saints to have to play that game on the road. No, it wasn't. Because why would you punish the Seattle Seahawks for winning their division, right?
Then why even have the division in the first place?
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
So now, let's look at that right now in the NBA. Like, to say that if a team, let's say if Portland won the Northwest, but the Houston Rockets had a better record than him. So now the Rockets become the 3 seed and the become the 4th seed?
Yeah.
No, that's BS. The won their division. The Portland Trailblazers, they deserve one of the top 4 seeds.
Yeah.
That's how it's always been. It should not change. If you want that to change, then either you knock out the divisions or win your division.
Right.
You know
I got
what
distracted.
saying?
I'm sorry.
And so I'm just so confused, so utterly confused. I know it's money, but the ideas that they're coming up with, they're don't
not even
make
that
sense.
smart. Yeah.
They're not good. They are not good ideas. There's not an idea that Adam Silver has done. I'm like, oh man, that might actually be. It's a terrible idea.
If you're gonna do something like that, it's gonna you're gonna have to change more than just the seedings. You're gonna have to change the schedule. You're gonna have to change the traveling because again, the whole reason why you have this conferencing is because it's very hard to travel and play. And make it happen logistically. So you get the Eastern Conference, you play them more because you're on the East, and you play the West more because you're in the West. So, you're going to have to dramatically change the NBA, which I don't think you need to do. Like, why fix something that's not broken? The NBA is making money hand over fist right now. And by the way, their money doesn't even come from like individual games or, comes from TV, and they're making money off of TV and sponsorships hand over fist.
Right.
So we shouldn't really, again, it just shows the greed that we've sort of, when capitalism goes unchecked, it doesn't really matter who has good intentions because you're going to have fuckheads like the NFL and the NCAA. Don't even get me started on the NCAA and what what they've done to student athletes and how much they've exposed themselves to be this crazy nefarious. And by the way, they're fighting really hard now to make sure they're putting in a last ditch effort to the NBA to make sure that they don't change the one and done rule.
Right.
Good luck because the NBA is finally realizing like, dude, we have no allegiance to the NCAA. We really have no reason to even fuck with these dudes. So, why are we going above and beyond
the same NCAA that just suspended that kid out of Memphis who's projected the number one overall pick because Anthony Hardaway helped his family move when they had no money.
And by the way, Anthony Hardaway is a family friend of theirs.
Yes.
That's
before he was the coach of Memphis.
He was the coach of Memphis. Like, this is crazy, man. And again, the worst part about this is like, and I'm a conspiracy theorist, and I know you are. I think all you really have to do is just, if you're a school like USC, if you're a school like Memphis, for example, the NCAA doesn't fuck with Memphis because Memphis doesn't make them enough money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you're a USC, if you're Alabama,
USC,
if you're LSU,
Alabama, Texas,
LSU,
Michigan,
Florida, even Florida State to a certain extent.
Yep.
These are all programs where the NCAA is like really like, man, we got to make sure these dudes are good because if they're not, we're messed. Because we talked about this. The NCAA is oversaturated. They got way too many teams that are in Division I in the first place. But when you've got this organization that, by the way, doesn't pay taxes, by the way, is basically evades all sorts of basically the NCAA is as close to the mafia as it gets. So
I agree with you on that.
So I'm just saying that if you're the NBA, why are you sitting here trying to kowtow to the fucking NCAA? Who cares what the NCAA thinks?
Right, because they definitely don't care what you think.
No, hell no. And they're like, dude, we get mad because we don't want these players to leave one and done, but they know that we're not going to pay their asses, you know, so they might as well leave. And I feel bad for guys like, look at LaMelo Ball. Look at these other guys. I think one of them is, I think his name is RJ Hampton. Yep. These guys just said, fuck the NCAA. We're going to go to Australia and we'll be back. Fine, we'll be back next year. And they're already talking about LaMelo maybe being a top 3 pick.
Yeah, I saw that too. And it was funny because this is the same LaMelo Ball who everyone clowned LeVar from taking him out.
Yep. But
once again, I know LeVar Ball hasn't
nobody
really
wants
been
to give
hurt,
that guy credit. Yeah,
but nobody wants to give him credit. But where's the lie?
And the crazy part is now you got all these other parents who are saying exactly what LeVar Ball said, but they're just a little bit more articulate, a little bit. LeVar Ball is a character. He wanted to be a character.
Yep.
He wanted to be this caricature of himself.
He put all the pressure on him to make sure it wasn't on his kids.
And you know what he did? He did a tremendous job.
Yep.
Because you know what? Lonzo Ball's a great player. Yep. And LaMelo is going to be good. And the other kid, Jello, he's not. I mean, he'll be fine for himself. He's going to play basketball. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
he just needs to work on his game.
Yeah. And at the same time, people were clowning him about LaMelo and letting him play in whatever the Triple B league or whatever you want to call it. So I think right now, and shout out to LeVar Ball because he took a hint. He stayed out of the spotlight after they started clowning him.
I love what was he on? I think he was on Undisputed.
Yeah.
And somebody it was either Undisputed or was the other FS1 show with Cowherd.
Yeah, it was that one, yeah.
They were like, so what 3 players do you think need to be on a team, in your opinion, to win a championship? He was like, Zoe, Melo, and Jello. And they just kind of looked at I was like, dude, you can almost not find a dad that has so much faith in his sons than you can LeVar. Like, how can you hate this guy?
You can't,
because we're in PC America, where all the parents are supposed to stay in the background while the kids do all the work.
He's a loudmouth.
He's a loudmouth, and he needs to sit down. No, he doesn't, dude. I love that stuff.
It's crazy.
Dude.
It's crazy. If you're,
my dad wasn't like that, but if he was, I wouldn't tweak him out. Like, my dad's flipping hilarious.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is he called that shit because what is Giannis doing? Giannis brought his little brother, Thanasis or whatever.
Yeah.
The Bucks signed him. There's another example of that.
I think there's another Antetokounmpo.
And he's still not even in the league yet.
Exactly.
So LeVar called it, and it's not like he said anything too crazy. Like, dude, if the Lakers had a shot to have both Lonzo and LaMelo, of course they would take it. Now, okay, Jello, maybe he's a redheaded stepchild, but fine. And honestly, Jello's not that bad. He just unfortunately can't shoot, and he's not tall enough. So
and also that whole Chinese incident didn't look good on his resume either. Yeah. Like, I don't understand why Americans are so gung-ho to go to Asia, to these Asian countries,
like
and want to steal something,
UCLA,
and then be like, "Oh, I didn't know I can get arrested for trying to take, the emperor's sword from 1462." Yeah, dude, you may not be able to steal that, dude. It's a Chinese delicate piece. Yeah, you can't steal it, genius. It's not like you can bring it back to America through security and then think you're just gonna sell it to some antique guy and flip in. Boo-foo California for, $250 million, and the Chinese are just going to be dumb enough to be like, I think there's something missing. The emperor's freaking
Yeah.
500 years, 600 years, sword is gone.
Yeah. His left shoe is missing.
Yeah, like, come on, dude. So I'm with you on Jello. I think Jello's just dumb, but I think Lonzo's got talent, and I think
Melo might be the number one pick, honestly.
Yeah,
man.
dude. I think LaMelo's going to be a lot better.
Because, by the way, that league in Australia, there's a lot of really good players there, and they're grown-ass men, okay? And he's holding his own and apparently doing really well over there. And honestly, dude, again, clown LeVar Ball all you want, but I'm telling you that parents took notes. They're taking notes actively, and now the new plan is fuck the NCAA, fuck a scholarship, fuck busting my ass getting my kid through AAU just so that he can spend 1 year at Memphis and get suspended because I helped him spend money to get into a place. Yeah, crazy, dude.
Yeah, the NCAA, I don't know.
I'll never be okay with the NCAA no matter what happens, because right now, apparently their new thing is like they're basically saying, screw it, we'll pay players just for the aesthetics, just so that we look better. But to me, man, that's only a start. If you want to pay them, fine, that's a start. Right. But we've got a long way to go before you start to rectify what you've done.
Exactly. Right now, we're kind of looking at Zach LaVine is just lighting it up 3-point wise against the Hornets.
About time.
They're still losing, however, by 5. It's 87.
Unbelievable.
82,
we were
like
up by 12.
7.
We're up by 12 earlier in the half, and unbelievable.
Yeah, dude.
That one's going to happen. Distracted over here.
Hey, so I'm lucky to have both. I have 2 walking triple doubles on my fantasy squad. Yeah. That being LeBron James, who probably
MVP,
the MVP of the league, and then I have the guy who's probably behind him in the MVP voting in Luka Doncic, who
unbelievable.
Luka Doncic is the European Magic Johnson. Let's just call it. But the difference between Luka and Magic is Luka shoots better than Magic Johnson.
Already.
When you look at Magic Johnson's highlight tape, you're not seeing him dropping any threes. No, you're not seeing that. Yeah. I mean, we are talking about a guy that played with the likes of James Worthing, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dennis Scott, and all these other guys, Byron Scott, where, he didn't necessarily have to drain threes to get the job done, Yeah. Luka Doncic is something serious. Like, I remember there was a lot of hype on him when he came out a couple years ago. Yeah. And
he was like 16.
He was 16. Yeah. And there was all this hype, like, oh man, this Luka Doncic kid could be really good. I mean, I remember when there was some hype when people were like, oh, the Knicks should really tank to get Luka and pair him up with KP. Well, they didn't. The Mavericks have. And they look really good. Like, this man is 6'7", so he can get bounds. He's got great court vision. I still think his shot selection is so ass, bro. Yeah. Like, okay, I understand.
He's a little too confident in his.
Come on, man. Like, okay, you're already 15 feet behind the 3-point line. Yeah. So you want to make a crossover step back to make a 22-foot 3-pointer?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. So
my buddy's a Mavs fan, and he clowned me for this, but I told him, I said, listen, Luka grew up watching YouTube videos of LeBron and watching YouTube videos of Kobe, and this guy wants to be them. He wants to be LeBron. He wants to be the guy. He wants to do Steph Curry type stuff. He wants you to say, shit, God, I can't believe Luka did that. But what happens is when you give a guy like that the freedom to do whatever he wants, he's going to take 3 or 4 really bad shots per game. Yeah. And sometimes they're in crunch time. Like, I think it was last week, he took a really bad shot late in the fourth quarter and ended up losing the game. So, but man, Luka's the truth. And he's as close to, I wouldn't say LeBron, but let's just say this. We haven't seen a guy statistically dominate like this since LeBron.
That's true.
So to me right now, and I think last week he was the youngest player ever to get to these statistical milestones, and the only other guy who's done it is LeBron. Yep. So he's in really good company already so far. Your team might be stacked.
I just need to get
De'Aaron
and Marvin Bagley back. Like, I haven't had Marvin Bagley all year, but he should be back soon. De'Aaron, they should be coming back at the same time. Thank God, dude. Because like I told you earlier, trying to hit the waiver wire in fantasy basketball is absolutely
Do you play
impossible.
Yahoo or ESPN?
ESPN.
Okay, I play Yahoo, and I hate Yahoo. I like Yahoo for fantasy football, but their basketball is garbage, man. First of all, they change the designations of these players 5 times a day.
Right.
And what they do is, like, for example, Lonzo Ball, I have him on my team. He's been out for the last 2 weeks, but they refuse to give him an injury designation. So I can't put him in my IR slot. And I have to basically leave him out, and I can't drop him.
Right.
So, it really sucks because we didn't want too many bench slots in our league this year because last year people were, abusing it and just basically stashing players.
Right.
And we also limited how many, moves you can make per week because I don't want guys just basically making, leaving a one slot a week where they're just dropping and picking up guys every single day and just padding their points. So, but I like fantasy football. I'm getting back into it, or basketball. Yeah, I'm getting back into it now.
Yeah, dude. I remember when I had Marvin Williams on my squad after he had like one big game.
He had a really nice game, yeah.
And then it just went downhill from there. Like, you want to talk about a guy, like, I kind of feel bad for Marvin Williams because I thought he had all the talent in the world. He was not
crazy.
Worth the number 2
at North Carolina, you thought this guy was going to be like for sure at least a mid-level player who's going to be on a really good team.
Yes.
And he's been stuck in Charlotte for the longest time, and they like him in Charlotte. He signed a big deal with them. That's the thing about Charlotte. It's crazy. They've got one of the highest payrolls in the league, and they're paying bums.
Yeah.
That's why they couldn't pay Kemba last year. Or over the offseason, rather, because they're paying Bismack Biyombo $18 million a year or something like that.
Michael Jordan might be one of the greatest players in the game. He is not the greatest talent.
He's never going to win GM of the year or
hell no. Hell no. Like, I remember when I don't know if you ever saw this video. If I ever find it, I'm gonna put it on your wall. Where they're trying to compare Terry Rozier III in the way that he plays the game to Michael Jordan.
Oh, to Michael. Okay.
Yes, like their shot is eerily similar.
The reach.
I'm like, but yeah, the play is not similar.
I love when people say, man, this guy plays really similar to MJ. Yeah, it's almost as if MJ was the greatest player of all time and people modeled their game off of him.
Right.
People say, man, Kobe did a lot of things that looked a lot like Michael. That's because Kobe wanted to be Michael. Let's not, Terry Rozier, his step back, which I saw that video, it's like a step back and it looks exactly like Matt. You could tell he was in the gym. You could tell he was in the gym with a YouTube video and was like, I'm just going to do this until I perfect it. I'm going to be MJ. So, that's the type of effect a guy like that. You're going to see that in another 10, 15 years with LeBron, where a lot of guys are already right now, like modeling their game off of LeBron and making sure that they, these big kids, like a guy like Zion, man, he's never going to be LeBron, but the best thing that he could ever do is take notes from what LeBron did, both physically and on the court, and understand that he's going to have limitations in this league because remember in college, it seemed like he was playing with kids.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like when you get to the league, he's one of those guys that's, obviously going to transcend that, and he's going to do really well. But at the same time, you better be ready for some roadblocks. And speaking of Zion, I have him on my fantasy team. He's been on my injured reserve, so I think they're aiming for mid-December. But why even rush him? At this point, he's already missed a month and change. He's going to miss 2 months in total. So I don't really. And another big thing right now with fantasy basketball is that there's a lot of guys injured right now. A lot of guys injured right now. So. It's tough playing. It's tough playing fantasy basketball when you only got 2 IR slots and you got 2 different guys in there.
One of the guys that is hurt or in and out being hurt is Kyrie Irving.
Yes, he is.
The Brooklyn Nets are 4-7 with Kyrie Irving in there. They're 3-1 when he's not in there.
Crazy.
And that's why that's why a team like Cleveland, when he said I wanted to be traded, was like, okay, fine, we'll send you to Boston.
Go ahead, yeah.
A team like Boston was just like, and you can tell the way that he left. The way he left Boston, with the whole not shaking hands and all that BS that went with it, you can tell that this guy's not a great player.
No.
Like, he's got all the handles in the world. Kyrie can shoot, but I was talking to my buddy the other day. If there was one thing I wish the Knicks would have done that they didn't do, was sign D'Angelo Russell. I really wanted D'Angelo Russell to really be with the Knicks because I feel like the Knicks kind of have like this log jam at point guard with Frank and Alfred Payton when he's healthy and Dennis Smith Jr. D'Angelo Russell could have been that shooting guard or, that identity that the Knicks are missing. They don't really have that go-to guy who can take over the game per se.
Apparently, he might be on the block.
He's been on the block since they signed him.
Since they signed him.
The whole time, the only reason why they signed him is because they wanted a deal from somebody out of him because the Golden State Warriors knew that they were going to suck balls this
and then
entire
now
year.
When you have Curry, he's saying he's going to try and come back this season, but why would you even have him come back? Why would you even do that? Draymond's been hurt a couple of games as well. Looney's been hurt. You know, you look at some of their starting lineups against some of these teams, and you're like, wow. Yeah, it's crazy. So Golden State, honestly, dude, why fuck around? Trade the guy and try and go for a top 3 pick. Why
try
not?
and get something.
Why not?
Exactly. I mean, there's plenty of teams out there that could use the services of
D'Angelo. For sure. And you could get a nice little haul from a team that's desperate too. To go back to the whole thing about to go back to about the whole thing about the Knicks. I was surprised to see that the Knicks weren't a little bit more focused on a guy like D'Angelo, because it's like he already did it in Brooklyn, so why not come and try and sort of build that with the Knicks? And we both said that before the offseason, so it'll be interesting to see, because teams right now, it seems like teams are sort of more and more getting into this mode of like, let's win. If we can win, let's win, right? So we'll see what happens, because there's going to be a lot. I mean, I think, the Bulls might be sellers, dude. I'm not going to lie. You might see a Zach LaVine. You might see a, Wendell Carter, Lauri Markkanen. These guys aren't really playing the way that they're supposed to be right now.
Yeah, I think Lowry, it could be one that's on his, he could be the first one on his way out. Yeah. I think you could get a better package from Zach LaVine, but I think, Lauri Markkanen could be on his way, because you said I feel like what's his name gets more tick than he does. Freaking Luke Cornett.
Yeah, I know it. And I'll say this, man. Luke Cornett isn't that bad. I mean, I will say this. He was
with the Knicks last year.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I know I know you know him. Is he nimble? Is he light on his feet? No, but he's a 7-footer who can shoot the 3, and he's gonna occasionally do something for you down in the block. He's okay. But the problem is, when you're Jim Boylan, you're sitting Lauri Markkanen for Luke Cornett.
Yeah,
and you don't win games like that. And quite frankly, this whole thing about Jim Boylan is wearing very, very thin on Bulls fans, and I hope it's wearing thin on the Bulls players, because that's the only way we'll see him go out of town, which, right now, if you're a Bulls fan, you're either hoping that they do really well and hopefully make the playoffs this season, or we're hoping for a cleaning of the house, man. I mean, honestly, it would suck. It would suck, because you're like, man, we spent the last 3 years trying to rebuild into a good team, but watching a game like this, watching a game like this is very much proof that we're not ready. We're not there yet. You're up. You're killing Charlotte, and Charlotte's a bad team, and you're beating their ass. And next thing you know, you play the first 6 minutes of the third quarter, and you went from being up by 10 to down by 6.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And now you've been playing catch up basically.
Now you're playing catch up, and you've got to have basically hero ball, and you're by the way, guys, we're watching the game. It's 2 minutes left. The Bulls are down by 6. And the Hornets have the ball here, so we'll see. And by the way, the Blackhawks are also playing, and it's a tie game 1-1 right now with Dallas. And Blackhawks have been playing better hockey lately, so I've talked myself off of the ledge on the Blackhawks, but I'm back on the ledge when it comes to the Bulls, and it looks like the Charlotte is going to turn over the ball. I don't know what Kobe White's thinking there, but so the Charlotte just turned over the ball. 1:46 left. The Bulls have the ball with down by 6.
Yes, so I want to transition back to the NFL real quick, because we do have a story to tell. So if you have been hiding under a rock, Myles Garrett got into it with Mason Rudolph on Monday night against the Steelers.
Mm-hmm. No, it was last Thursday night, right? Am I right about that?
Was it last Thursday night?
Yeah, it was last Thursday, because we talked about it on last week's show.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Let me just double check, because I may be putting my foot in my mouth here. Because the Monday Night Football last week was Chiefs Chargers. Yeah, it was a Thursday night game of last week.
Right.
Yeah, it was a Thursday night game.
Okay, never mind.
I thought what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about because they had the hearing with Myles Garrett.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
I told you, dude. It's been
a long day for both of us, my man.
So I forgot about that. Yes, they did have the hearing. Mm-hmm. So we did talk about it. They had the hearing. Okay. Apparently now, what's his name? Myles Garrett is saying that the reason why he went ape on Mason Rudolph because he called him the N-word.
Well, here's the thing. He's saying it was a racial term. Now, obviously, I think the one word you could say to a black guy that would make him go apeshit is the N-word.
That way, yes.
But at the same time, he's contending that it was just a racial slur. He's not specifying what it is. He's just saying it was a racial slur. We're just assuming it's the N-word. But again, why would Larry Ogunjobi come out of nowhere and push Mason Rudolph to the ground?
Thank you.
I'm just saying, we both talked about Mason Rudolph's role in that whole fight and how it's been underplayed.
And not even so much that it's been underplayed, but now this fool came out and had admitted that he had something to do with this whole fight in the first place.
Yeah.
He, quote unquote, accepted his role in the fight for what happened.
Yeah.
And then you still only fined him $35,000. So let me make sure I got this straight. A man was allegedly called the N-word, had his head driven in the ground by the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Then he got up to defend himself. But as he was getting up to defend himself by almost knocking what's-his-name's head off, Mason Rudolph put his foot that basically would spike cleats in the Johnson of one Myles Garrett. So Myles Garrett rips this man's helmet off, binks him upside the head with the helmet. Then he gets knocked to the ground, is getting kicked by Marquise Pouncey and somebody else. I can't think who. Dude, did he call timeout with 45 seconds left in the game?
Yeah, they're down by 8 because they just essentially just got a free bucket there. So he's calling them in to discipline them, Nick.
Yeah. Because that's what
okay, Boomer.
That's what we're doing
that's
nowadays.
What we're doing now.
Okay, so he gets binked upside the head. Marquise Pouncey comes in, kicks Myles Garrett. Freaks out, kicks off Myles Garrett. Ogunjobi comes and hit Mason Rudolph because he know he was on some BS. And out of the midst of all this, they reduced Marquise Pouncey's suspension.
After he kicked him in the head 12 times.
And couldn't defend himself. Yeah, nice job, NFL. And then they upheld the suspension on Myles Garrett, saying that he will serve whatever the indefinite suspension.
And maybe next year.
And maybe even going into next year. So I thought it was a weird situation for the NFL, for Mason Rudolph, and for Myles Garrett, because now, may this kind of be a lesson. Like, you got to control your emotions. But I know that's easier said than done than to what happened.
And by the way, Mason Rudolph's people have come out and said he absolutely didn't say anything. They're denying this completely. And Myles Garrett's Browns teammates are essentially saying he wouldn't lie about something like this.
Right.
So if he said it, they believe him. But there's also a lot of people who said we didn't hear anything.
Right.
Now, let me just, because I sent this to a buddy of mine earlier this week. He's a Steelers fan. And I just want to read what went down when they went to the ground. So if you didn't see the play, Myles Garrett, it's the last play of the game, essentially.
Right.
They're running a screen pass. Myles Garrett has a free run at the quarterback, which happens on screen passes.
Right.
Mason Rudolph looks like he's upset that Myles Garrett is trying. Okay? So here, let me just read a little excerpt of something that I sent to my buddy. It said, Garrett, still engaged in the play, rolls over onto Rudolph. The two immediately began to tussle, and then Rudolph grabs the back of Garrett's helmet with his right hand and his face mask with his left, and begins to twist Garrett's head. We all saw that. He's trying to twist. Essentially, it looked like he was trying to get the helmet off of his head, right? Twisting his head. Next, Rudolph loses a grip on the back of Garrett's helmet and instead grabs the ear hole with several fingers on the right side of Garrett's helmet and begins to pull in a sideways motion as if to pull the helmet off of Garrett's head from the back going forward. This is extremely uncomfortable. If you've ever worn a helmet before and you're somebody trying to pull it off from the back, it's almost like someone's trying to pull your neck off.
Right.
At one point you can see the entire back of Garrett's head showing where his helmet was being lifted and then in view of half of his right ear exposed. So for those people who are saying, well, it was a minor tussle where they were just kind of going and no, Mason Rudolph went out of his way to grab this guy's helmet, essentially twist it in a violent motion. Honestly, I don't. And obviously, if Mason Rudolph said something racially insensitive or said a racial slur, he deserves to be punished for that. But I don't even think you even need to come out with that.
Right.
I think what you saw on tape is enough to say, dude, this guy pissed off Myles Garrett to the point where Myles Garrett just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna hit this dude with his helmet."
Pretty much.
Now, again, if you have somebody who is trying to actively take off your helmet,
right,
what are you going to do? You're going to take off their helmet.
Right.
You know, it's just kind of a back and forth. So we'll see what happens with that. Apparently, there's going to be some investigation sometime this week.
There is. It looks like we are being joined by the boss.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yes, Mike Reppy's finna come join us here in a little bit while we sitting here talking a little foosball.
Yes, sir. What's up, Mike?
How you doing, guys?
Man, just living the American dream,
Yes,
watching
sir.
the Bulls lose. I mean, don't feel bad, dude. The Knicks are right now getting sloshed.
Yeah. Can you hear him, Steve?
Oh, and the Rangers just wait a minute. Oh, we're still
It's
losing.
like the Blackhawks are tied right now, so
Dude, we're still losing 5-4.
don't have to get mad at the
that switch.
at the Blackhawks.
How's that?
There
There
it
we
is.
go. All right, there we go.
Most people tell me to be quiet.
To be quiet, yeah. You're too loud, Mike.
So, Mike, we did mention earlier about the conversation we had off the air about the Los Angeles Rams and what's going on with them. Essentially not really being, I wouldn't even say the same offense. They're not even really the same defense. I think them losing Sue, there's not the same defense. Like Aaron Donald, think about it like this. The three guys that they gave the 99 rankings to in Madden this year, I think all three of them didn't really deserve it. Like Aaron Donald, I don't think it's the shell of what he used or what he was last year.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner, to me, he's an awesome linebacker. He's not a 99 linebacker.
No.
And DeAndre Hopkins is not a 99 wide receiver unless Will Fuller is healthy.
And Khalil Mack, I mean, he hasn't had the best year so
No.
far. So, and by the way, a guy
Doesn't
got
he have,
added.
what, one sack?
He has one sack. Actually, he has a couple sacks, but I think it's like one sack in the last like 6 games or something.
Yeah, that's insane.
And by the way, they added Christian McCaffrey to that this week. They officially made Christian McCaffrey the other 99 player. So
he should be 109.
dude, that guy is crazy, and it's crazy to see how
Until
how
he
little
plays
he
the
is.
Bucks, he's a 99.
Was that stat Thursday night? Was that stat about Hopkins correct? He's got the second most yards in the NFL this year.
Hopkins, or
Yeah,
wow,
Hopkins.
that would be amazing if he did. I have him on fantasy. He
Very,
hasn't been the
very
best.
quiet.
Yeah,
if it
exactly.
is.
Yeah.
Because I was surprised because I haven't heard his name all year, really.
Well, it goes back to what Nick was saying, that when Will Fuller's out, he only has one receiver left. You know, Watson only has one receiver left, and it seems to be Hopkins. So, and even though they got Kenny Stills, who was doing good, but that might be a good transition.
Kenny
on Thursday night
Stills
game.
doesn't give the same. He don't give the same impact as Will Fuller though, because when Will Fuller's in there, that man's easily dropping 3 touchdowns a game if he's on. If he's hurt,
That's a problem. He's always
DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, he's going to get catches.
Yeah.
I just feel like, he's got to make some Jesus miracle catch in order to get things going because everyone's focused on him now. Like, I dare Deshaun Watson to now throw the ball to Kenny Stills and think that you're going to get the same production as if it was going to be with Will Fuller, having to worry about the 3. So, but yeah, with the Rams, because I know you said you got some guys. I drafted Robert Woods, and then I got a notification legit 5 minutes before the game that he was personal issues. He had to step out the game,
He might be questionable for this game too, as well, with personal issues.
which
by the way.
royally pissed me off because then I had to switch out and bring in Mike Williams' sorry ass from the
I did
Chargers.
the same thing in my league.
Man, dude, I was getting so pissed.
And then he finally caught that 40-yard pass to get a few points at the end of the game.
But I needed like 20. I'm thinking, okay, Mike's good for at least a touchdown. Let's see what he can do. Dude, he blanked. Like you said, he was shut out for the first 3 quarters. And then dude.
Phillip Rivers is.
Well, that's a whole. I was going to say that I think the Rivers. I think the show's over.
Yes.
I don't know.
I think it is too.
He looks like uncomfortable and undecided in the pocket like Mitch does.
Yeah.
He's throwing interceptions right to
Yeah.
defense. It's not
the way they ended that game was embarrassing. He threw it right to the defender.
what's his name on the next morning. Orlowski on Get Up is like, you know better than that.
Yeah.
He was like talking to Phillip, and he's like, you don't throw that ball. Like,
Right.
The worst part is he threw it to Austin Eckler, who's like 5'9".
Right.
It's like, dude, you don't throw a jump ball to a guy who's under 6 feet. So, wow, the Bulls are somehow
one-score
trying
game?
to see. It's a game of fouls. Foul the guy. Don't. Oh.
They got the steal.
No, you didn't, Zach. Oh! my God.
Does that give him 50? Does that give him 50
And I
for the
don't
night?
think.
Oh! Game over. Bulls win. Wow. They were down, by the way, down by 12 at one point and then down by 8 with about 20 seconds left. My God.
The happiest guy in the room right now is Jim Boylan.
I'm not going to get fired tonight.
But again, this is kind of stemming from the conversation we had earlier.
Yeah.
What does Zach LaVine have to do in order
Score 49 points?
in order for you to get the respect? And there you go. The man is clutched down the stretch.
Yeah. Wow. By the way, if you guys were, I know you guys were listening to us, but essentially it was 3 seconds left. The Bulls were down by 2. Charlotte tried to inbound it. The Bulls didn't foul. I was telling them, foul. They ended up getting the steal. Zach LaVine takes it from 8 feet from the basket, goes to the 3-point line, fadeaway 3, and puts the Bulls up by 1. And that's what it ends up being, 116 to 115. The Bulls escape from Charlotte with a win.
It kind of looked like Reggie against the Knicks.
It did, right?
Like, from the way he ran and faded himself away.
Great defense by Kobe White and Archie Diacono, and that's a superstar shot. Look at Malik Monk's face on the Charlotte sideline. Yeah, that's
definitely
terrible.
No foul. That's definitely no foul.
No, and that's a terrible inbound. You know, you got other guys on the
triple
floor.
team.
Yeah, into a triple team directly in there. And wow, so the Bulls escape with a win. That is unbelievable. And there's a lot of Bulls, and the Bulls fans travel well. So a lot of Bulls fans in Charlotte.
Where's Michael? They show Michael?
I was going to say, is Michael at this one? That would be nice to see his face after that. Yeah, Charlotte, it seems like the new trend in the NBA is if your team sucks, you go find Popovich's assistant and you hire him. And that's what Charlotte did, and they still suck. So.
Remember when Orlando hired Jacques Vaughn?
Oh, yeah, I know. And the crazy part is, that's another thing is like you can be a really good assistant and a shitty head coach.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like Ron Adams is one of the smartest guys I've ever seen in that position because Ron Adams was on Thibodeau's staff. He was on Steve Kerr's staff for this whole Golden State. He's basically the defensive coordinator. This guy's been getting job offers for 15 years.
Right.
And he just says, no, I'm a really good assistant coach. I'm one of the best defensive coaches in all the NBA. Why am I going to, ruin that and try and go be a head coach somewhere just to get clout? It's crazy.
Exactly. Mike, question for you. What do you think of the new Intercontinental title?
I saw a picture of it today.
Okay. I'm going to let it grow on me. I'm not going to say it's ugly. It's not the oval piece of shit that they gave The Rock when when they kind of transitioned from the golden era, I guess, to the attitude era. I'm going to let it grow, but I just need it off of Shinsuke so I can try and enjoy it a little bit more.
It needs to be somewhere else first. But no, someone else I shared the picture with said, oh, they must be feeling the heat from AEW because they're trying to make their belts look like House of Glory and AEW.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as cheesy for sure.
It's definitely better than the UFC belt that the UFC
bro. What was it last week's show? I don't remember which show. I don't know if you were on it or not. But dude, I went off $50,000. $50,000 is what you put on for that belt.
That was crazy.
And you're going to tell me that is the best you came up with?
The most
was an
expensive belt they've ever made.
octagon that said BMF? What a piece of shit. It was last week because I was complaining. I was complaining about the WWE and their creative belts.
Yeah.
So when they kind of got rid of the World Heavyweight Championship and they called it the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and they're like, oh yeah, we got this brand new design and this and that, because you had the big old Ric Flair belt and then you had the WWE logo World Championship, and they're like, we're gonna make this brand new belt. All it was the WWE Championship with the freshened up logo.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me you pay these guys millions of dollars to come up with designs, and this is the best you came up with?
I'm not going to lie. I like that Intercontinental one. I just saw it right now.
The new one? Yeah, no, the new one's decent.
It.
I just need it off of Shinsuke. That's all I need, dude, because Shinsuke Nakamura freaking blow.
What about the 24/7 experiment? Can we be done with that yet?
You're not feeling it anymore?
there's been 86 champions in the first 6 months or something like that.
True.
It's not they wanted it to be the hardcore version, politically correct hardcore version.
That's right. Yeah.
But it sucks.
It's not happening.
That
yeah.
hardcore
There
was
was
dope as hell.
Pregnant girls held the belt. Newscasters from Fox held the belt.
Oh
like,
my god.
Dude, I felt bad for Mike Bennett, dude, because I know when he was in when him and Maria were actually in Impact, they were actually kind of decent. Like Mike was actually a decent talent on there. And then all of a sudden they came to the WWE and they made him Maria's bitch for whatever reason. As if like she had clout in the WWE like this, or like, oh, we're gonna make you his bitch. No, that doesn't make sense. Don't do that. And then you just pretty much buried the character. But like you mentioned earlier, like tonight, so last night, I totally forgot WWE's even in Chicago. Yeah. Last night I went to go pick up a friend. She lives by the Allstate. And I mean, it was packed. I was like, dude, what the hell is going on? That is all these flipping cars over here that I can't get. Oh, god dang it, that's right. SmackDown's tonight, and then War Games is technically tonight, and then the Survivor Series is tomorrow.
So they did the SmackDown in Allstate as well?
The SmackDown's at Allstate.
That's why.
It's all at Allstate. So Rosemont's going to be pretty WWE lit for the next few days.
Yeah.
But here was the thing, and Mike mentioned this earlier. So I don't know, Mac, if you heard the story, but technically what had happened was supposedly this crown prince from Saudi Arabia owes Vince McMahon like
some loot.
200. It's between 200 and 500 million dollars.
That's not bad for him. He could just ask his dad for the
that's
weekly
chump
allowance
change for the prince.
The weekly allowance, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. So what ended up happening was when they didn't pay up the loot, Vince McMahon shut the live feed off in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
And then when everyone complained to the Crown Prince, like, hey, man, they shut off the live feed, he made that. Vince had already left to go to the States. They left a handful of wrestlers back because the Crown Prince was freaking pissed off. And then that's what led to the NXT invasion of SmackDown. And as Mike mentioned earlier, dude, the ratings have boosted ever since they did it because everyone loves NXT, and that's kind of the fresh blood that they need. Yeah. The fact of the matter is that Vince McMahon, for whatever reason, he's still trying to do things like we had this discussion before when we were talking about if you were going to watch Saturday night's main event and you were hoping if Hogan would come on, because usually your champions don't come on. So when you give the title to Brock, and Vince McMahon 50 years later is going to say, well, we don't need your champion on TV. Bro, this ain't the Hogan days, bro. Like, you can't come through the entire Attitude Era when The Rock and Stone Cold and Jericho and Triple H were all cutting promos at your weekly show, and then all of a sudden the champ is no longer on the show.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. And like you said, and I agree with you 100%, until Triple H can finally get creative control for both shows, because Triple H, who's been in the business, not just happened to, make a territorial deal here and this, that, and everything else like Vince, has actually been in the locker room, in the business. Dude, the WWE is going to be where it's at, but this whole NXT angle that they're doing, it was the best thing that could have happened to him, especially going into Survivor Series.
And it's been ever since. About 5 weeks ago this happened? So every week the shows are better because you're wondering who's coming out, who's jumping out of the crowd, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
But do you remember what I said a month ago when we were sitting here about who's coming back this week? And he shows up on your Fox TV show.
Oh, CM Punk. Yeah.
Tomorrow night Survivor Series in Chicago.
That whole UFC thing didn't work out too well.
No, it did.
The roof will be blown off the Allstate tomorrow night.
And the funny thing about that is, remember when he lost his first fight, the WWE trolled CM Punk at the pay-per-view. There was a match between The Miz and I think it was Daniel Bryan, maybe. They actually reenacted the entire 2.5 minutes of CM Punk's fight.
That's crazy.
Before they actually went into the wrestling match just to troll CM Punk.
Now, are they bringing him back creative, like as a creative guy, or are they bringing him back to come back and wrestle?
No, to wrestle. The rumor is that it'll be him and AJ Lee versus Rollins and Becky at WrestleMania. Yeah. Somehow be a mixed match for the.
The rumor I heard is Ali supposed to be in one of these Survivor Series matches. I heard that he's supposedly supposed to get hurt, and then that's when CM Punk's gonna come in and take his spot. But you're right. If he does end up coming up, dude, I hope the city of Rosemont has insurance for a lack of a pun at the Allstate Arena.
Man.
No,
Dude,
like WWE needs Punk more than ever right now.
Yep.
I just saw a movie, like a really, really awesome horror movie where he's the main star.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like really one of the best horror movies that I've seen in a while.
CM Punk?
Yeah, it was really, really good. I can't remember the name of it now, but
Probably what he looked like after the UFC fight.
Definitely. Man, there's some crazy stuff that he looks like in that movie, I'll tell you. So check that one out.
And the UFC experiment, man, I don't think this guy really understood what he was getting himself into. I think he understood the physical toll that he sort of went through in the WWE and said, okay, I've got this threshold, but he didn't understand.
Oh, I think he was doing it more to try to get back at WWE. Like I can do my own thing. Don't mess with me.
Because he did burn some bridges on the way out, right?
Yeah. The sit down on the ramp, man.
That's right. Yeah,
let that go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And think about it like this. Stone Cold Steve Austin had said, because they asked Stone Cold, who kind of went through a similar situation where he left the WWE because he didn't like the way that, they were doing the creative control on him. And he was like, they were like, so what made you come back? He said, man, the money ran low. I had to pay these bills. And I'm thinking that's what happened with CM Punk, because you're not getting paid by the WWE. You're not getting paid by the UFC. You're kind of, doing like movies or whatever, but how much are you getting paid for that?
And by the way, those UFC paychecks aren't very good.
They're not.
When you're not winning or don't have a belt.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's not like AJ Lee's bringing in any bread. She out the game too.
Yeah.
So where does the bread coming from? You know what? All right, Trip.
She'll show up at Royal Rumble so that the whole story can unfold.
Yes.
But Rollins will be like, oh, you part-time. He'll start giving him the Cena routine, and then he'll call him out. And they need Punk. With all the AEW and all that, they need that factor to put him back in.
Yep. So I was watching a little bit of AEW. Like I saw a little clip, and I guess Billy Gunn was in AEW.
Oh my
Dude,
God!
For being 50-some years old, that
he's
dude looks
ripped.
ripped.
Wow.
Yeah, he's ripped.
Those steroids will do something to
Yeah,
you.
if you keep with them. Sure.
Yeah, he's absolutely.
That just shows
ripped.
commitment,
Like he looked better. He looked better now than he did in his last few matches when he was with the Outlaws. Before he got really hurt, and then they took him off the card.
Is there a reason Hager isn't fighting yet or wrestling yet?
I don't know. I haven't seen.
Is he the one who's still doing the UFC with Bellator?
I just didn't know if there was a contract or.
Well, I mean, the thing about him was you could tell what the Bellator was trying to do with him. They gave him 2 cake fights. They gave him 2 cake. One of the guys was like literally a janitor or something like that, and the other guy was like 3 and 6 or something.
I missed a voicemail. I might have been the other.
You might have been the other guy. Yeah. I think they called all 3 of us for that.
But the funny thing is about some of these wrestlers and these celebrities going into MMA fights.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys aren't taking the fights because they don't want to be that guy that who's been training for so many years to be an MMA fighter, to lose to like Herschel Walker, who's like 50 some years old,
eats
is
one
ripped,
vegan meal a day,
eats one vegan meal a day, but will out wrestle you and ground pound you. And how does that look on your MMA resume?
30 seconds. Herschel's a beast. Still.
He is a
that's true.
monster.
Yeah. And I'll say this: I don't know if you guys saw the Dave Bautista MMA one where he was like with some some dude with the beer belly, and that dude with the beer belly was giving it to him, was giving Dave Bautista the business. Like, dude, Dave, you look like a supermodel, but these dudes will fuck you up.
Yeah, there's a difference between fighting for real.
For real, right?
And
it's funny. Mick Foley was on Ariel Helwani's podcast this week. One of my favorite MMA podcasts is Ariel Helwani's podcast, and Helwani's a big WWE fan, big wrestling fan. He had Mick Foley on the program because apparently, so Mick Foley, he's sort of dipping his toes into both MMA and the WWE world. Mm-hmm. So trying to be, I love what Ariel Helwani said. He said, as much as you want to clown the WWE, the UFC has a lot of thanks to give to the WWE. and a lot of homage and respect to pay to the WWE for what they've done. And this whole, even like the whole Conor McGregor thing and just this gimmick that he, I won't even say gimmick, just his whole character is directly coming from some of these, The Rock and some of these promotions that you see in the 90s with the WWF and WWE. So as much as UFC guys clown the WWE, nobody clowns the fact that those guys get hurt and they get hurt badly and they take a beating on their body. But even Mick said it. He said, it's hard for me to say that the WWE is the same thing as the UFC, obviously. But he sees that the UFC now is starting to sort of come around on respecting the WWE.
Yeah, you'd have to think most of their fans
they
were wrestling fans as kids.
Transition right over. For sure. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, War Games should be either kicking off or maybe it did kick off. I'm not sure. It is 8:41 Central Standard Time. I'm telling you, that belt is actually kind of fresh, bro.
Yeah.
I like to use it.
Yeah. No, the belt's kind of fresh. I was like, you know what? This looks decent. It's not the oval piece of crap. And then
like the design, like the details of it is what I
see.
Like,
that's worth $50,000 right there.
Exactly.
That's something
exactly
I would pay
say.
someone $50.
Yeah.
Not just to make an octagon belt that just says BMF.
And I like the
$50,000
way that it looks on the side too. Like it has a nice look to it.
Yeah.
But we need to take Shinsuke's name off.
You don't like it?
Hell no, dude. Shinsuke Nakamura
It's got to be more of the same Jinder Mahal theory. They've got to be reaching that market.
Right.
The Japanese market.
Yeah.
And the Indian and Chinese market is like you can't.
Vince has doubled his income in the last 3 years.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. And
a point to where the crown prince is owing you $500 million.
Who's the prince now? Who's the king now?
Well, that's another thing that's pretty crazy about Saudi Arabia is, they've liberalized themselves, trying to liberalize themselves with this new prince. But this guy is just that just goes to show how fucking rich this dude is. Because he made that whole WWE deal himself with Vince. It was essentially handshake deal. Let's make this happen. WWE comes to Saudi Arabia. Next thing you know, a year later, they're there and they're coming back every year now and they've got this giant deal.
And at the same time, he's huge paychecks from there. But then Vince gets 3 WrestleManias a year now, because all those are WrestleMania
pretty
cards.
much.
So he's got all the people here going bigger cards, more pay-per-views.
Yep.
But if no one here watches it, he still made $500 million. It
Yep.
doesn't matter.
Yep.
And I mean the UFC they're playing copycat too, because the UFC is trying to get into the Middle East. They were in Abu Dhabi for a fight. They want to go to Russia. I think they're starting to realize that it's they have to globalize this thing.
Right.
They have to start to make it a little bit more uniform for the world.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that country up, dude. Did I see what's her name at the most recent pay-per-view? Shevchenko.
Valentina.
God, she's
fine,
is
right?
smoking
She's fine. She's super
hot.
fine, dude. She's super fine.
Christ,
Yeah,
dude.
I love her.
And they was like she was with her sister.
Her sister's fine as hell too, and she's you would think that they're twins almost too. One of them's got dark hair, one's got blonde.
Yes.
Valentina's a dime piece,
I was
and she's a stone cold killer too. Do you see how remember how she knocked out Jessica I?
Yes.
She damn near killed Jessica I. So
Yes.
Her face was buried in the mat.
buried into the mat.
Yes.
And she was out for a good 3 or 4 minutes. Man,
And on top of that, dude, and she speaks Spanish with that Russian accent.
She speaks Spanish. She's actually, I think she speaks 5 languages. She's crazy, and she does. I don't know what their dance is, but she does some dancing in the octagon too. She's a beast. And speaking of her, they're trying to set up a super fight for her and Amanda Nunes, because there's no one left to fight Amanda Nunes.
No.
She's gonna fight this Jermaine Durandamy in 2 weeks. She's gonna smoke Durandamy, because Durandamy's, first of all, she's 50 years old or something like that. She's had 60 career kickboxing fights. That's it. Amanda, dude, if Amanda can put out Cyborg like that, she's going to put out Jermaine Durandamy pretty easily. So they're trying to convince Shevchenko to come up, but that's too much to come up. I want to say it's something like 30 pounds, man.
No,
It's too much.
no,
Can't
hell
come up
no.
on that.
No, you can't do that.
One more question about tomorrow's Survivor Series.
Yes, sir.
Do you see, Mysterio Lesnar doesn't make sense to me.
Hell no.
So do you see Velasquez interfering and getting a win for Mysterio temporarily, something quick? Because if not, it's a big waste of time.
You're right.
The whole play out is a big waste of time.
You're right. So this is what I was thinking.
I have another theory, but you go first.
Here's what I was thinking. First off, for as much as we hate on Brock Lesnar, I feel like the WWE does a really good job with him. Brock Lesnar, for where he's at right now in his career, his matches should go no more than 7 minutes. The WWE, over his last handful of matches, the Goldberg matches, the one he had against Kane at Crown Jewel, have all been in the ring of 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. So, if they were to do something crazy, they would probably let Brock beat the hell out of Ray. Kane comes out and does something. And then they give... Wait a minute, so we're really talking about, what's his name, getting one more run at the WWE title? Rey Mysterio? I'm not feeling that right now.
So I think that's where Punk shows up. Doesn't Punk have old heat with Lesnar?
Yes.
So that's why and how Ray wins, because that's the surprise re-entry. That's what I'm hoping for.
Wow.
To show up
Somehow Lesnar's not coming out of Chicago with that title.
I just think the whole Mysterio angle is a waste of time if he's not going to get the belt.
Fact.
True.
Because I mean, it's like David and Goliath for real.
Right.
What's the point?
Right.
So either another match with Velasquez down the road because he interfered and cost him the title, or this is where Punk jumps out of the stands and, knocks Lesnar out with something and Ray gets the belt. I don't know.
What do you guys think about this whole Cain Velasquez thing? I saw clips of his first match with Lesnar. Obviously, he left UFC because he's hurt and he can't really take on the type of punishment that he is. So he's in the same boat as Lesnar. I think he can only go like 5 to 10 minutes, especially with his experience in the ring. But how did he look overall?
It wasn't as bad as the Goldberg match.
Hell no. I could not agree with you
And
more.
that hurts me to say because I was a huge Goldberg fan as a kid.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It was dominated by Lesnar on the mat a lot, right?
Right.
So there wasn't a lot. He probably, if he's still in training, is going to get a little better. Like Ronda. Ronda got a little bit better, a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it was kind of
They tried to make it look
I
like
agree
a
with you on
UFC
that,
match, right?
especially with her promos. When Ronda was first cutting
was
promos,
rough.
she was horrible. She was horrible. But as time went on, once they stopped making her a face and turned her to a heel and let her loose, her promo game got so much better. I think with Kane, I don't think Kane. All right, so Rey Mysterio, in my opinion, kind of has to be the Paul Heyman for Cain Velasquez.
Ooh, okay.
because I can't see Cain Velasquez at this point cutting a promo.
No.
He's not a guy that's going to cut a promo
No,
for you.
hell no. So you're not really gonna make Cain Velasquez a heel. You're gonna have to keep him a face, but he can't cut a promo. So that's where Rey Mysterio comes in at. So, but I'm with Mike. For what it was worth, like he took Lesnar down, he beat him up a little bit. Then, like, they didn't really do any real wrestling moves, maybe because Cain Velasquez wasn't ready for that. But he does know how to tap out from a Kimura because Cain Velasquez has done that.
He's only been doing that lucha wrestling for like a couple of months too, so he wasn't necessarily ready. I think, but credit to the WWE because they realized like, okay, this guy has some heat with. They had a UFC fight, but I thought like the Valetudo pads on the legs and everything like that, trying a little bit too hard to make it a UFC thing. I think, but it probably will come when Kane sort of learns the ins and outs of traditional.
But don't say
wrestling.
that because Brock Lesnar didn't put all his sponsors and shit on his gear, and he's been doing that since he first came out of the UFC.
True.
I just like to. I think something cool will happen tomorrow with.
Oh yeah,
Either with Velasquez or with Punk in that match to give Ray one final run and lose it again at Rumble or lose it again. He's not going to keep it for a long time.
but did I not call the day I didn't expect them to have Lesnar quit SmackDown to go to Raw, but I did see them keeping that title on SmackDown and changing that bad boy blue. And now you got the Fiend really working with Daniel Bryan. Hopefully this title run for Bray Wyatt will be better than the one that he had at first, because he was set up, in my opinion, when he was just Bray. the title run, in my opinion, was bogus because you win it at the Elimination Chamber. Your very next match after the Elimination Chamber is WrestleMania. And it was against Cena, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say it was John Cena. I forget who it was.
3 years ago, yeah. Right?
Yeah, so I think it was Cena. That was like Cena's last run at the WWE title. We all know at this point that Bray Wyatt is not leaving WrestleMania with that championship. So why would you put it on him there if you knew that you only give him a 2-month run so we could just see what it was like? You know, the same nonsense you did with Dean Ambrose, non-selling ass. When you put, dude, I swear to God, I can't stand Dean Ambrose. No matter what he does, there's not anything in my body that's gonna be like, oh yeah, never mind, I think Dean's great. No, dude, he's a notorious no-seller. I don't like this shit. He's been no-selling Triple H this entire time. He no-sold, what's his name? The one he's forever feuding with, Kenny Omega. I can't count how many times he's no-sold that fool.
That's a very big thing in wrestling too, right? Like they, you know, if you're not selling my moves, I'm pissed, right? Is that the thought process?
There's an old story about Antonio Inoki.
I saw Bill Burr break that down, and it's so hilarious.
When he was facing that big fat guy, Haystacks Hunter, and he got pissed off, and he literally beat the shit out of him because he would not sell his
kicking him in the head. I mean, this dude got knocked out. He's kicking him in the head. I mean, Bill Burr breaking that down is one of the funniest things ever.
Dude.
One of the first tag team matches that Sid and Undertaker did together back in the day
when they were the skyscrapers.
Right,
yeah,
there was. It's one of the first YouTube videos you find if you Google Sid, but the one guy on the other tag team wasn't selling anything, so they pinned the other guy and went after the other guy and just beat him for 5 minutes. Literally threw him on the apron like it was, and he was like doing it with a smile on his face. So that pissed him off even more.
Yeah, I remember. Speaking of Sid, I remember seeing a match where it was a squash match, and he went to powerbomb the guy, and the guy would not jump to do it, and so like Sid had to use all of his power. When he went to pin him, he slapped him in the face. And he was so pissed. They said like Sid went back in that locker room, dude. He was so heated. I'm like, come on, man. This is the same Sid that if you go into the way back archives, look at Wrestle War 91. He was Brian Pillman was in that Wrestle War. And Dusty Rhodes was calling the match. And Sid was supposed to powerbomb Brian Pillman a certain way, and he botched it. And Dusty Rhodes immediately saw it, and he didn't follow the kayfabe or whatever. He called Sid out in that broadcast. He's like, hey man, there's a way, like someone needs to go there and check Brian Pillman. There's a way to put somebody on the mat. You could have run and broken him out. Like they had to cut the match like because they made him surrender because like Brian couldn't go, but he legit almost hurt him. So yeah, dude, that no selling shit, I can't stand it. And Dean Ambrose is the absolute king of that mess. King.
Are they doing 2 rings tonight for War Games? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but I definitely want to check it out.
I mean, you got it. If you're doing War Games.
But
right?
dude, remember when we were at Adobe, I was telling you, like, if you are Vince McMahon, so you kind of went away from what Survivor Series really was. The 4-on-4 match.
Stupid.
It's stupid, right? But how you going to make Survivor Series interesting? Why not War Games? That's all War Games. War Games was basically the spinoff for WCW to the Survivor Series. That's all it really was. So why not combine the two? You already own the rights, so why not do it? And now you're just going to test it for NXT. Nah, man, bring that mess back up to the WWE.
Yeah, those are the best.
Oh, those War Games were brutal. Brutal.
There was something about those dual rings, though, that was just so cool.
As a kid, it was just like, oh my God, 2 rings.
Two rings. Wow. And then the cage just comes sculling down.
It's only about 8 feet. So
So you can't really jump. And these guys are really raking their face against the. Oh, speaking, I don't know if you checked this out. Have you ever noticed the war between Daniel Tosh and Arn Anderson? No. So Daniel Tosh, for whatever reason, has been calling out Arn Anderson for every bit of the last, I want to say almost a year, to where Daniel Tosh actually has a a podcast called the Arn Anderson Sucks podcast.
Is this Daniel Tosh, the comedian?
Tosh.0.
Tosh.0.
Yes.
Oh my God.
This man has been going out calling out Arn Anderson, the enforcer.
Jeez.
So they went back and forth on Twitter. Then when Daniel Tosh pulled out the Arn Anderson Sucks podcast, his first guest was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So Jim Duggan starts telling these stories of when he used to wrestle against Arn Anderson, and Arn Anderson was like this big piece of shit, and like he would like almost no sell. He's like, man, this dude's garbage. Like they wanted me to do a job for him, and I wouldn't do it. And like they're laughing back and forth. So Arn Anderson cut a promo on Tosh.0 in his front room, telling him that he better watch himself. Dude, it is hilarious. It's, of all the wrestlers you would call out,
You want to mess with the enforcer?
no. But he was like
legitimately crazy.
he was like, you want to know who the worst wrestler is that does the Steinbuster? He was like, Arn Anderson. I mean, the man who invented the move. He's the worst at it. Oh, it's great. You have to
look into
You have to look into it. It is absolutely hilarious. Like these guys been going back and forth, but I thought I just find it so funny.
Tosh.0 is one of my favorite programs. I love it.
So you, Nick, a couple of months ago, last month, you had the Meadows football coach
I did.
with you on here.
I did.
So as most people know, they got it handed to them today.
Yeah, I saw.
Anybody else bring up the unfair factor that this district?
No,
and
we
the
talked
district-
about it off the air, but definitely explain that to us a little bit.
The top two teams in 7A, Mount Carmel and Nazareth Academy, both recruiting private schools. How is that fair for?
Public establishment that,
In my opinion, today we should have played Willowbrook, and they should have played each other, Mount Carmel and Nazareth. They 7A asterisks, private recruiting, like, and I mean, when did this? Is it always been this way? Is it?
Well, I'm not gonna front. I remember Bolingbrook used to have to go against Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
And Bolingbrook is a private. It's a public school.
yeah.
So is what you call it private school as well? Recruiting Providence.
I don't know that one.
I know we used to be in the same bracket
I
as
was
Mark
told
Carmel.
today that of the 22 starters on Nazareth, 12 have already signed with Division I schools.
Wow. I mean,
The quarterback is a sophomore, already signed with Michigan.
not only is that unfair, but that's, it's like having an NCAA team playing a pro team.
They could have beaten most Division III teams today.
Wow.
Wow.
You said their quarterback's already committed to Michigan. That's
two wide receivers over 6'4".
Whenever you can recruit and give out scholarships and the other team can't, it's not a level playing field.
So why has it? I mean, I'm sure it's been an argument for a while, but
Yeah.
we need to talk to the coach again and see what we got to do to petition something.
Yeah,
Let's do
I
it.
mean, at the very least, it's like why can't we have conferences that are all private and conferences that are all public?
Right.
You know,
and we had a killer season. It's just
to ruin a 12-0 season with that game is
these
such
kids.
a shame.
I mean, they came back against Hersey. They beat Prospect twice, once in the play. Like, such a great. I don't think we've ever gone any farther than we have today.
Wow.
To the Final Four. I think it's the first time that I know of.
And I said the same thing to I think you guys. Like, Rolling Meadows has nothing to hang their head about. That was an amazing season, and clearly, dude, you don't go 12-0 by accident. So, congrats to them on a great season.
So
definitely not the way you wanted it to end.
And that's what I was trying. Like, just such a tarnish, but it's not even. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's got to be an
shouldn't have
asterisk next
happened.
to it. Yeah, for sure.
I would love. I was hoping there would be a consolation game next week, so we play Willowbrook. Kind of more of a. This is legit.
yeah,
This is the public win, and that's the private win. But I don't know.
I think Rolling Meadows should pull a UCF and just call themselves the real world champ.
Have a parade anyways.
Hell yeah,
like
why
UCF
not?
did.
Like, hold on, man. Nah, y'all got us going against these guys with 6'4" wide receivers. We just a regular, everyday, in your face public school.
Yeah.
So either you gonna make this fair to where I can go out and recruit people to come to this high school, or we ain't playing something like Mark Carmel Nazareth no more. Hell no.
Yeah, whenever you can give out scholarships and promise that to a private establishment, and you're able to recruit players from like out of state,
Yeah.
and you're playing a public school that's basically dealing with the players or the kids that go to that school. It's not a level playing field right now. I would love to talk to the Rolling Meadows coach about that and see exactly what
We'll try to get him back for the next one.
Yeah, I want to at least pick his brain about what he thinks a possible solution is too, because clearly we're a little bit out of the realm, and I'd like to see what he feels is an even sort of playing field.
Is there enough private schools that recruit to do their own conference?
Had their own conference, right? Yeah. Is it an area thing? That's what I'm wondering is how they even get grouped together in the same conference. It has to be
Size.
an area.
Is
it size?
Yeah,
Okay.
size
Okay.
is all to my knowledge, all the class, all the 8A,
Class
7A,
sizes. Got
6A.
it. Got
It's
it.
all class size, but
Got it.
to throw them in the same.
Unfair, but again, shout out to Rolling Meadows High School and their football team. What a great season, and didn't end the way you wanted it, but we'll still put the asterisk next to it for you guys.
For sure. All right, what else you got, Nick?
Nick, I definitely want to make sure that we get to the football, but we've got plenty of time. So
Oh yeah,
let's
no,
go
most
right into
def.
it.
Yeah, no, I've been keeping my eye on the clock. That's
We're good.
right.
We're totally good.
Mike, well, you guys are the Bears fans. I already ranted about the Bucks. I didn't, you know what? I didn't so much rant on how maybe little disappointed I am in the season. I just ranted on the stupid idiot Bucks fans.
Yeah.
Because they royally pissed me off.
Yeah.
So I guess we're kind of in the same boat because there's something leery about giving up on a 26 and below quarterback. Like, I understand Mitchell Trubisky has not necessarily had the season that a lot of people thought that he was going to have. But at the same time, I don't think a lot of this stuff is necessarily his fault. I don't feel that the Bears have put him in the grave. The reason why I feel Bears fans are so disappointed is because a lot of people thought they were going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
They were going to go to the Super Bowl. If the Bears were going to be 6-10 this year with 6-10 expectations, you would say this is a learning curve. Next year we're going to step the game up.
Yeah.
But you went, what was it, 11-5 or 12-4 last year. You lose the game on a double doink, and then you feel like all your – did I see that right? The FIU is actually beating Miami. And then you see all of the momentum going into the season. You guys are what, 3-7, 4-6 this year?
It's 4-6 right now.
4-6 right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, I don't know. Like, what are you guys' thoughts?
It's inconsistency across the board, and I think the Bucks are in the same boat. One week,
Oh man,
didn't the Bucks go into LA and dominate the Rams
and
or
drop
something?
55
drop
on
50 on
Right.
them, yeah.
And then the next week they can't move the ball against
the Saints. Yeah.
And I think the Bears and the Bucks are same inconsistencies.
Yes, sir.
I believe I overheard you say earlier before I jumped on about you can't win a game running the ball 8 times. Was that
No.
Which
no,
is what
you
the
can't.
Bucks
Yeah, you
only
can't.
did. They
Well,
only ran
the Bears
about
did
8.
too.
Yeah.
Montgomery had 8 carries a couple weeks ago, and you're not going to win.
No, you're not at all. So I'm glad Florida International. Is it FIU or FAU that Lane Kiffin is at?
FIU.
Is it IU?
Yeah, it's FIU. Florida International.
All right, because Lane Kiffin will be the next Florida State head coach. I'm calling it right now.
By the way, yeah, I was showing Nick because he asked if they were beating Miami. Florida International Lane Kiffin is beating the Miami University.
Dude, the U sucks my balls.
23-3 is
Hey.
the score right now.
Hey, the U sucks.
Hate it? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, dude, I'm sorry. Yeah, the U sucks my balls. Like like the U always comes up. They're like, hey, we're showing for.
The chain's ridiculous, right? Can I just start with that?
Yeah,
Okay,
we talk about that.
Dumb as hell.
And
then I got mad because the Florida State came
yeah.
out with the turnover backpack.
Yeah.
Can you not lower yourself to these idiots? And then to really make me upset, I love how like the only glory days that Miami has was like the 80s and then that stack team in like 2003 or whatever it was. That's it. For 16 years, you have been absolute losers. That is all Miami is. They are losers.
I compared the turnover chain to the party that the Bears throw after every win.
Club dub.
Club dub. It really, honestly, dude, there's nothing that upset me more other than that Broncos win when we won by the last second and we should have lost that game. And everything that transpired after that was a party. to me, dude, there are some wins where you have to go into the locker room and say, shit, we were lucky to get that dub. We can't be happy about this right now. We don't have the luxury to be happy about this right now. And I don't think Nagy has that in him right now. I think he wants to be friends with players a little bit too much. I think he wants players to like him a little bit too much. I like what Alex Brown said, former defensive end for the Bears, said on the post-game show, there's a couple of clowns on this team, dude. Like Anthony Miller, dude. Listen, I know the Bears drafted you high. They traded up to get you. You're a clown, bro. You only have 7 receptions on the season. You're the first guy to celebrate, but you're not making plays on the field. This is something to me. I don't want to sound like an old head when I say this, but it's just like, dude, there's a certain respect you have to show to the game.
If you're a round 1 pick, you should be getting 7 catches a game. Not in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And the worst part about it is like, dude, you want to be the first one to celebrate on the field and you're making all sorts of mannerisms and dancing. It's like, dude, we got to win games, man. Like we got to have somebody in that locker room that's saying, hey, the problem for me, man, is I thought Khalil Mack would be that guy. I thought Khalil Mack would be the guy to sort of sober guys up and say, dude, let's fucking go.
Let's win first.
Let's win, And I'm disappointed in him, to be quite honest, because he's not showing the type of leadership that I'd like to see on the field. First of all, with his play, but also with his body language. He's just missing on guys, like just missing, and then he sits out the next 4 plays.
And I think the last time we were here was right before the Raiders game.
Yeah.
The defense has not been the same since coming back from
London.
England.
And let's be honest, you called it, Nick. Akeem Hicks is a very important part of this defense.
Yeah.
He eats up a lot of space for guys like Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan and other guys. And, you're starting to see Roquan has taken a little bit of a step back. Khalil obviously hasn't been the same guy. Leonard Floyd came out like gangbusters the first 3 games, and you haven't seen him since. So the Bears right now, and again, the easy thing to go with is Trubisky sucks. He's not, bring in Daniel. Trade for Taysom Hill. It's crazy because if you're
Taysom Hill,
if you're watching the games, you can clearly see that right now this Bears team has an overall problem right now.
If you're running the ball 8 times and putting it on Mitch's shoulders, you're not going to win any games.
And here's another thing: they give up on the run so easily. Like it's like they have the type of success. Thank you so much. They have the type of success that you like to see, but what happens is, like David Montgomery, dude, this guy's killing the game when you're giving him the ball enough. He's a guy who's, like, to be quite honest, he's only getting 3 or 4 yards on runs, but he's supposed to be losing a yard or 2 on these runs. So to me, man, it's a benefit no matter what. But we'll see, because honestly, I if you're 4-6, you normally don't give up on the season, right? You're not like, oh, it's over. But to me, dude, the NFC is so tough right now. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna win out and be 10-6 and still miss the playoffs,
But guys, I got to step out. But it's been a pleasure as
Thank you
always.
again,
always.
Mike.
We'll do it again in a month here. But,
yes, sir.
Make sure you check these guys out every week. They're entertaining and knowledgeable.
Thank you.
And I'll make sure that I'll be texting you throughout the Survivor Series.
Okay, good talk.
Yes.
Yes, thank you again, Mike. Guys, again, we're at Reps Place, 3200 Kirchhoff Road in Rolling Meadows. You know the deal. We're going to be here every single month until we die.
Oh, yeah, and then is what's his name still playing here tonight? Eric's playing on later on tonight? I think he is. All right, cool.
Okay. Yeah, and by the way, we have somebody who asked, you feel Trubisky was injured, or is PR getting scared of Chicago media and the fans? So, I mean, they can't say he's injured and when he's not injured, right? It's illegal. You can't say he's injured when he's not. Yeah, you can't fabricate that. Yeah. So I believe, yes, he was injured. Now, how much, to get to your question, is getting scared of Chicago media? I don't think they're scared of Chicago media or the fans. I think it's more so they're embarrassed right now. They suck. They suck.
Again, it was the perception that this team was Super Bowl bound.
Right. And they're so massively disappointed from being that team to now being a middling team.
Exactly. And then Phil says Allen Robinson is the only legit bright spot in that Bears offense.
Even him, he has his moments too. Like sometimes he disappears too.
That's true. But again, that's going to happen when you're the only legit threat, and they're going to double. So it's like dare Anthony Miller and dare Tariq Cohen and dare
Taylor
Montgomery.
Gabriel.
Taylor Gabriel.
You know, that whole Taylor Gabriel experiment worked out really well for them last year and some parts of this year. But man, the Bears need another receiver.
Yeah.
It's clear right now that Allen Robinson's doing it all by himself. Mitch Trubisky, I feel bad for the guy, dude.
I really do too.
He really can't do much with this offense. Tariq Cohen is out there, running. When you're a running back, dude, when you're a running back and they teach you to run the route, which is the out route towards the sideline from the shotgun or from the backfield, you're taught to get past the line of scrimmage, right? You're running your route past the line of scrimmage. So when you catch it, you've already gained yards. There's at least 3 catches that Tariq Cohen made last week where they were for 0 yards.
Yep.
To me, dude, this dude, Trubisky, can't do everything. He can't be the guy that's going to be your savior, right? He can do what he did last year. He can have a couple of really good games and have a couple games where he's a game manager. So, and by the way, they're reviewing a goal here in the Blackhawks Stars game. It looks like the Blackhawks came close, but it never went through, and there was no goal. So it's 17:29 left in the third period, and it's a 1-1 game. The Blackhawks, that's what we're watching right now. But yeah, other than that, man. And by the way, Nick, we might want to ask our boy Mike to see if we could switch this to the Sun Devils and Oregon game, because your boy Justin Herbert is losing right now 19-7.
Hey,
we might see a comeback here, so we might want to switch this TV. So see if Steve or Miro can get that switch for us.
All right. All right, cool.
But yeah, so to wrap up on this Bears before we jump into the Thursday night preview or review rather, right now Bears fans have to be smarter, just like Bucks fans have to be smarter and realize that not everything falls on one player, not everything falls on your quarterback, not everything, and at the same time, not everything falls on your players, dude. Like sometimes you got to look at your coaching staff and be like, hey, you're the one who's, Bruce Arians, you're the one who's putting Jameis in the position to throw 18 interceptions. The fact that you have to even come out in the media and say, well, 8 of those are his fault and 8 of those are, listen, dude, you as a head coach and you talked about it, Byron Leftwich is a young coordinator in the league. This is his first full year, right? Calling plays.
Yep.
So the guy clearly doesn't have a game script right yet. So you have to, as Bruce Arians, come together and really understand what you need to be, what needs to be done to win games. Hey, Steve, can you do us a favor, man? Can you have them switch this game to the Oregon-Arizona State game whenever you see them? Thank you, appreciate it. I believe it's ABC. I think it's ABC. Sorry about that, guys. What's that? I watch them because I love them, but it's kind of crazy. I'm a superstitious guy. Blackhawks tend to do better when I'm not watching. I don't know why. When I watch, they suck.
Good
when
point,
I don't watch,
I wasn't watching the Rangers. They managed to come back and beat the Canadiens.
It's crazy. I didn't get to watch 2 games in a row, and they won those 2 games by a combined 8-0 or something like that. We did. We reacted live to the end of the game, so it was pretty awesome. So yeah. So. Nick, you want to jump into the Thursday night
Let's
game?
do it.
Go
All
on.
right. So, you want to do a Thursday night game? Okay.
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it was a good win for the Texans.
I mean,
the Colts kind of.
The Colts, they certainly missed Marlon Mack a little bit, but they did. I thought Jonathan Williams looked good.
Yeah,
I thought
me too.
Nyheim Hines was good.
Me too.
I thought Brissett, since he got injured, when he came back from the injury, he might have come back a little bit too soon. He looks antsy. He looks a little rusty. He's not making the throws he needs to. He's missed a couple of big throws. T.Y. Hilton came back in that game, and he seemed pretty much invisible. I think it's ABC, boss. I think it's ABC. ABC, I think. It's the Oregon-Arizona State game. It's the one that's out in that TV right there. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so... to me, the Colts, the defense of the Colts doesn't scare me much. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. The Colts defense, I was pretty impressed with the Texans defense. They stepped up when they needed to. They made some plays. They came back in that game. People forget that Houston came back in that game. They were losing at one point, and Deshaun Watson just decided to say fuck it. I got DeAndre Hopkins, and I'll throw him the ball a bunch.
Pretty much.
2 touchdowns for Hopkins too. Another Giant game.
So, hey, Bucks and Bear fans, lighten up. At least you're not a Giants fan. I mean,
hey, dude.
That could be true, but I mean, at the same time, I think the Giants, more or less. You know what?
I'll say it like this: the Giants have more to look forward to than the Bears do right now, you know?
And because I think Daniel Jones is going to be a better quarterback than people give him credit.
Sure, yeah.
It's going to take some time to get him some wide receivers and then make sure that Evan Ingram can stay healthy.
Yeah.
But they got a lot of work to do defensively.
A lot of work, yeah.
You know
But at the same time, they did. I thought they drafted well this year. No matter what you think about the Daniel Jones pick, they clearly got their guy. No matter what pick they got him at, they got their guy. Dexter Lawrence has looked okay. I don't think he's been the best, but
definitely hasn't been the worst.
He hasn't been the worst, and he got stuff to still look forward to. And at the same time, I mean, I think right now the Giants, dude, like, you know, as much shit as you want to give them, dude, they could have been in the conversation for the worst team in the league, and they're not. They just, you know, I know they lost to the Jets a couple of weeks ago, but they still got a lot to look forward to. I just think right now, Bears fans, dude, it's gonna be a long last 5 weeks.
Yeah,
like these last 5 games are going to drag ass because it's gonna be really. I mean, and by the way, the Bears have a tough schedule. We still play the Cowboys. We still play the Chiefs. We still play. I'm pretty sure we still play. Yeah, I don't even know who's left. We still play Green Bay once. We still play Detroit once, and we still play Minnesota once. So you got basically all 3 in your division, and the Cowboys and the Chiefs. Yep. It's going to be a long rest of the season.
Facts. All right, game number 1. Let's go to Buffalo. The Denver Broncos are playing the Bills. Bills are 4-point favorites.
The Buffalo Bills are frustrating me right now, Nick.
They're kind of frustrating me too a little bit, but I think they kind of got back on track last week.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the thing about Denver showed signs of life of that they're capable of playing football by beating Minnesota 23-7. They just let them come back. So
and Justin Herbert just got picked off by Arizona State, and Arizona State looks like they're going to upset Oregon here. It's still 12 minutes left, so you never know, but Herbert just yeah, that was a pretty obvious one that you probably don't want to throw. Let's check out the replay here because clearly Arizona State's got a lot to celebrate too because nobody was giving them a chance in this game.
That's where what's the name is that? Herm
Edwards. Yeah. And I'll give. Oh, okay. Low snap here on the slant. Looks like Herbert looks right all the way, and he just that I don't know what.
Oh, so he cuts the route.
He cuts. Yeah, but even then, I mean. That's just not. I think he might have been looking. I think he might have been. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think he might have been throwing that just to get the interference. But Arizona State gets the ball back, 21-7. They're in the red zone already, so they might be able to go up here 21 points. We shall see. But yeah, you know, the frustrating thing about Buffalo to me, Nick, is that their defense hasn't been as good as we thought it would be. Like, we know the offense has some issues, but the defense hasn't been like lights out by any means. They still got some work to do, and you know, quite frankly, I mean, I know last week was was a win for them, but it was 37-20, and it was a lot closer. The Dolphins kept themselves in it, man. You know, there's some things that I guess when you're in the NFL and you're playing a shitty team, you just have to get through, right? Like, I just want to get a win. You know, we're not trying to make it pretty. But yeah, Josh Allen threw 3 touchdown passes. John Brown looks amazing. What a pickup by them, John.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I thought John Brown, especially after they traded, what's his name, Zay Jones. It's like, who's the guy that was going to step up? Yeah. And over the last few weeks, it has been John Brown. Him and Josh Allen have really they've really developed a little bit of chemistry amongst the two. I'm gonna take Buffalo minus the 4 in this one.
And Buffalo's the home team, right?
And they're at home, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to pick anything with the Broncos, even though Brandon Allen didn't look terrible for them in the last couple of weeks. Denver still has a lot to do. By the way, shout out to Denver for what they've done. You know, I know that they didn't win that game against Minnesota last week, but man, did they give Minnesota some fits in the first half. Clearly, Vic Fangio has seen that Vikings offense before, but just not enough offense to get them through. Dude, honestly, if the Broncos can get a quarterback next year, they might be good, man.
And there's a slew of or you know what? I shouldn't say that because they drafted Drew Lock. So
they did, yeah. And here's the thing: I think the thought process now is that they're going to spend the last 3 weeks of the season with Lock in there because he's still a little bit banged up, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he looks like. But if you're Broncos and you're in the top 3 and you have a chance, like, by the way, Tua, who is hurt, is still going to enter the draft. So he's going to take his chances. He's going to enter the draft, and he's going to take his chances with rehab. I think that's smart. You know, why fuck around and go back when you might hurt yourself again? So we'll see. Is he even eligible to come back? Is he a senior? I think he's a junior, right?
I think he's a junior.
He's a junior, yeah. So, so Tua's coming back. You're going to have a lot of options, including Justin Herbert, including Joe Burrow. And we talk about Tua. Maybe Jalen Hurts is still in the conversation at this point. There's a ton of quarterbacks in the country. So, yeah, I've got Buffalo as well.
Yes. Game number 2 is the aforementioned Bears. They host the Giants. Bears are actually laying 6.5 on the Giants. I said this yesterday on Arch Rivals. I mean, we talked about it, how much the Bears are kind of struggling right now, dude.
Yeah.
I'm almost scared to think that the New York Giants could somehow come in and sneak this one out because, if Khalil Mack can't get to Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones can't pick you apart.
Especially this week, dude, when they don't got an offensive line. There's no excuse this week for the Bears. So I agree with you, dude. There's a very good chance that the Bears, do struggle a little bit in this game because honestly, the Giants aren't playing bad football right now. They did lose a couple weeks ago. We talked about that against the Jets, but they're not playing terrible football as we're watching some of the struggle faces of the Oregon Ducks fans.
I mean, they're out here salty right now.
And Justin Herbert kept his helmet on. Is not fucking around right now. So we talked about it. They're down. They're down 14 right now, and Arizona State is driving in the red zone with 11 minutes left. Yeah, with this game, Nick, I'm going to pick the Bears just simply because I think they're the better team. But I'm not going to be surprised if the Giants win this game because, quite frankly, I think the Giants like playing for what the hell's his name again? Shermer. Yeah, it's crazy to say, but dude, the Giants have fun. I've been watching some of their games. They like playing. They like playing with Danny Dimes. They like Saquon Barkley. He didn't have to rush back. He wanted to come back. He likes playing over there. This defense, they're not very good, but they play hard. So, my one problem right now with the Bears is I'm going to be watching very keenly on the effort.
Right.
I'm going to be watching who is taking plays off, who is not taking plays off, who's playing hard every single play. Because again, I talked about it with Khalil Mack. This dude is like a half an inch away from a sack, and he gets so sad that the next 4 plays he just takes them off.
Yeah.
You can't do that in this league, dude. Nope. You can't. You got it, especially when you're getting paid like a quarterback.
Right.
Dude, we're paying you $25 million almost, man. Come on, man. We need Khalil Mack to produce. And again, if Khalil Mack, because right now his numbers are career lows, I believe. I want to just so I don't give out false information. I'm going to look out, but I think his stats right now are career lows. And by the way, that Raiders first round pick of the Bears that goes to the Raiders is looking better and better every single day. John Gruden's got to be, everyone gave shit about John Gruden trading Amari Cooper, trading Khalil Mack, changing the whole culture of that team. And look what they have to show for it now. They've got a lot to show for it. So, when it comes to the numbers this year, it is not good for Khalil Mack. In 10 games played right now, he's essentially working with 1 fumble recovery, 4 forced fumbles. He's around 34 tackles right now. He only has 8 quarterback hits in 10 games. That is not good, dude.
That's Khalil Mack?
That's Khalil Mack, yeah. So right now, it's not exactly looking... like not looking like it's gonna kill him, but dude, the dude only right now has a couple of sacks to show for it and 8 QB hits in 10 games played. Not the best. So, but I'm still gonna go with the Bears here just because I think they're better than the Giants.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with the Giants.
Might go with the Giants. All right, cool. Yeah. I mean, honestly. And by the way, shout out to the winner of our tickets who actually won the tickets here at our last event at Reps. He's going to be actually going to that game tomorrow. So shout out to him. He's a Sox fan. I forgot his name. We'll shout him out on the Facebook. But hopefully you enjoy that game. I think the weather should be pretty nice for a late November football game. But I'm gonna run with my Bears in this one.
We should probably not spend too much time on this one.
Okay.
The Steelers are 6.5 point favorites against the Bengals.
Yeah, I'll take the Steelers.
All right, Steelers. We equally may not spend a little bit of time on this one.
Yeah.
The Miami Dolphins are in Cleveland, who are 10.5 point favorites. The Browns are.
You know what, man? I want to say something about the Browns because after looking closely at them, because they've been on a couple of primetime games this year.
Yes.
So I've had a chance to look closely, including in that Pittsburgh game that the whole Myles Garrett thing happened.
Right.
Dude, the Cleveland Browns should have won that game by 40 points.
Yep.
They didn't. They were still in the Pittsburgh was still in the game, and I'm telling you right now, if Cleveland comes out dancing and OBJ and Landry are dancing and everything like that, and all right, we got this easy dub. Dude, you better be careful because the Miami Dolphins are coming up the rear right now. They're all playing really hard right now. I mean, one thing about Brian Flores, I will give him credit about this. His players are still playing hard for him. Like we talked about how they were in that Bills game last week. I know the Bills pulled away eventually, but they were in that Bills game, so they did a pretty good job. I still would probably lean towards Cleveland here, especially because they're at home. But be careful, man. The Dolphins, might have something to prove.
True. I think Cleveland wins, but I would take the Dolphins plus the 10.5.
Okay.
If I was a betting man.
Yeah. Honestly, dude, the betting spreads this year to me seem off. It's weird. It seems like Vegas has been. It seems like in years past, Vegas has been about who's doing really well right now.
Right.
And I think lately it's just been about who do we expect to win a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And we'll give them the advantage. It seems a little crazy right now. So Arizona State's going to attempt a field goal. Did it go through? It did. It is now 24-7. Oregon is trailing Arizona State. Herm Edwards, man, what a win this would be for his squad. They're 5-5 this year. They took a little bit of a step down from last year. And thank God for AFC cheerleaders as well.
Ain't this Herm Edwards' first year as head coach of Arizona State?
No,
he's second.
No, it's a second. Yeah, he had a game. He had they actually did pretty well last year, but I think they had some quarterback issues last year. But
I know Phil was saying that I guess Marvin Lewis is the DC and then Antonio Pierce is the linebackers coach for Arizona State.
He took him with him. Oh,
yep.
Good. Yeah, honestly, say what you want about the NFL fraternity because it's sort of going away now.
Right.
But, when it comes to black head coaches specifically, they stick with each other.
Oh, easily,
these, Herm Edwards,
Leslie Frazier,
Marvin Lewis was what happened. Marvin Lewis gave Jackson from Cleveland a job the week after he got fired by Cleveland.
Jackson,
Hugh Jackson, so
Yep.
they don't fuck around. They stick with their guys.
Let's go to Atlanta. The Buccaneers are taking on the Falcons. Falcons are 4.5-point favorites. I talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
When it comes to I talked about this earlier when it came to Tampa Bay. Jameis plays well in Atlanta for whatever reason against the Atlanta Falcons, especially in the Dome. I know he's had a couple of really good games in the Dome. When they played last year, that's when he replaced Ryan Fitzpatrick and almost made the comeback against them. Atlanta's played surprisingly well over the last 2 weeks coming out of the bye week. Remember, they pretty much shut out the Saints, and then they had themselves a heck of a game last week against the Panthers. So, as I said, I'm gonna see how I'm gonna take Tampa plus the 4.5. But if they don't win this game, there's a great chance. I don't know if I'm gonna pick them for the rest of the year to figure out where they go from there.
Let me ask you: do you bench Jameis in this game or after this game if they don't win?
No, because Ryan Griffin is not that great. If Ryan Griffin
if
was
you had
good,
a young guy behind, maybe right. But,
if Jameis was 33 and you had a guy that was 21 waiting in the wings, that makes sense. But Jameis is 25,
and he's still auditioning to probably stay on this team, right? He probably wants to stay.
He's probably auditioning to try to stay in Tampa, or if somebody else wants to take a flyer on him,
right. And honestly, dude, here's the thing about Jameis. If he walks next year, there will be a market for Jameis.
Oh, easily.
Don't get it twisted, right? Even if Tampa Bay says fuck Jameis, there's going to be teams who are going after this guy. Miami Dolphins, dude, San Diego. Shit. If the Bears sour on Trubisky, shit, I wouldn't mind if we brought in Jameis, man. I mean, listen, at some point, people have to realize how hard it is to play the position of quarterback in the NFL.
Shoot, he could go to the Jets and back up in case Sam Darnold don't mess up.
I mean, honestly, he can go and he can go do that with basically pretty much all the teams in the league if he wanted to. But he also has a chance. Like, dude, we're talking about some guys that are sort of on their way out. Phillip Rivers, one of them. Maybe Drew Brees, another one. It looks like Andy Dalton's probably
he's gone.
He's gone.
He's gonna be gone.
There's plenty of teams who are going to be looking for quarterbacks. But yeah, in this game, Atlanta is playing for Dan Quinn right now, right?
Yeah.
They're like, we don't want this guy to get fired because we sucked earlier this year. They're still going through injury problems right now. But my problem with Atlanta, though, is that talent-wise, it's not there. Talent-wise, you've got Matt Ryan, you've got Calvin Ridley. Austin Hooper, I believe, is still injured, so he probably won't play this week. But you just don't have enough talent on the defensive side of the ball right now.
Right.
I think Tampa Bay is a little bit more talented on the offensive side of the ball. And you know this better than me. Every once in a while, Tampa Bay just kind of breaks out for 40 points, and just Jameis has this amazing game, and you think Chris Godwin's going to be all world wide receiver, and so they have these types of games. I think this might be one of those types of games. I'm going to take Tampa Bay.
Let's go to another NFC South matchup where the Carolina Panthers are taking on the Saints. Saints are 9.5-point favorites.
Wow, 9.5 points. Yeah. Here's what I will say: if you're a gambling person, think about the Panthers here.
I'm with you on that.
Because the point spread is a little bit lopsided right now because, yes, Carolina has taken steps back. Kyle Allen has taken steps back. They're still a pretty darn good team, but at the same time, New Orleans right now looks like they're coming together, finally figuring out what they want to do, and they're still winning games even if Breeze isn't playing the best, which is pretty impressive to me. So I like New Orleans in this one, but again, if you're a betting person, think about the Panthers in this one.
I'm with you on that. I'll take the Saints on the win, but I would take the Panthers plus the 9.5.
Okay.
Let's go to New York, where the Oakland Raiders, the surprisingly good Oakland Raiders,
I know, man,
are 3-point favorites against the Jets.
Man, here's the thing about the Raiders, and I say it every single week, it seems like, dude, put some respect on Gruden's name now.
Yep.
It's like this dude is clearly a guy who understands the game of football better than pretty much everyone else in the league right now.
And understanding the evolving game of football.
Yeah.
Because this was brought up last night, how we're getting kind of going away from the traditional
Smash mouth.
Not even so much that, the traditional pocket passer to now these more hybrid mobile guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of your quarterbacks start coming out of being. So the days of Manning and Breeze and Rivers and Flacco and all these guys, that's almost done.
Yeah.
That's almost dead. So
And honestly, dude, credit to the Raiders for their brand of football is very old school.
Right.
We've got really good offensive linemen that we feel are going to push you off the line.
Right.
We're going to get 3 or 4 yards every single play that we run. And Josh Jacobs, I mean, people clown them for taking him in the first round. He looks like a superstar type running back.
Yep.
They're very good about using him as well. And quite frankly, dude, Derek Carr looks good to me, man.
Yeah.
He's not. What I like most about John Gruden is he understands the limitations of his players.
Right.
He understands that, you know what, dude, I don't have the player personnel right now that I have an undisputed wide receiver one. So you know what? I'm going to use Tyrell Williams in these sort of hybrid spots, get him open as much as I can. We've got touchdown Oregon here, so it's going to be 24-14 after an extra point, but there's 7:43 left, 10-point deficit looks like for Oregon here. Yeah, no, I mean, the Raiders, though, defensively have problems, I would say, just simply because they didn't really invest much into the defense other than like Clelin Ferrell and some of these other guys. They tried to bring in, my boy Vontaze Burfict. That didn't work out too well, and he's got his own issue with the league right now. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Oakland in this one, though. I think they do a tremendous job of running the football. They're going to prioritize running the football, and John Gruden just understands how to win games. I'll take Oakland in this one.
I'm with you on that. Let's go to I don't know if you saw the story on this game. We're like, dude, you can literally sit at the 50-yard line in this game for $12. It's Detroit at Washington.
Oh my God.
Detroit is actually 3.5-point favorites.
Wow.
They may not still have Matthew Stafford this week, Detroit, but dude, Washington just blows. This team blows. Dude, Dwayne Haskins, I know he's a rookie. I've always said that I don't trust any quarterback coming out of Ohio State. Troy Smith, bust. Cardell Jones, too early.
True.
Dwayne Haskins, struggling.
Even that, they've had guys that switch to receiver because they're no
Braxton Miller.
Yeah.
So they've had
Terrell Pryor.
Terrell Pryor's another that's a good one. I forgot about him too. Yeah. So it just hasn't really worked out per se for the Redskins, and they're having a struggling season. I mean, to an extent, so is the Lions. But I like the Lions in this one on the road.
One of the saddest things that I think I've seen in a long time is Dwayne Haskins walk. I don't know if you saw this video. He walks over to his offensive line. He goes, "What do you need me to do? What do you need me to do?" Like, essentially, he's saying, like, what do you guys need me to do to not get me killed back there?
Oh, let me see. Who else asked that question? Oh, yeah, RG3. Yeah. Right. I'll be damned.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins, and he was smart enough to get the hell out of there. So I feel bad for Haskins because he's got a long career there if he makes. And I'll say this, the Redskins defense has a lot of money that's on it right now. They've spent a lot, dude. Like people forget that Washington spent money over the last couple of years. They drafted high draft picks. They paid what's his name from Carolina, Landon Collins, and they paid what's his name from Carolina a couple of years ago.
Oh, Josh Norman.
He's turned out to be garbage. So
and you have Jonathan Allen still up there.
They got a bunch of first round picks.
You got Montez Sweat up there.
Ioannidis. They've got some players, and they spent some money, and they're still losing games. And by the way, I picked up Jeff Driscoll on my fantasy team because I think he's going to go off on them. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Detroit on this one. All right.
Let's go to Philadelphia. The surprisingly good Seahawks take on the Eagles. The Eagles are 1-point favorites.
I like this game, man. I'm excited about this game because I think here's the thing about Seattle. Seattle has to put together some consistency. Right. Sometimes they have duds, and then sometimes they have that game that they played against the 49ers where they look better than the 49ers, quite frankly. So I would say right now Seattle has some proving to do, but also, I mean, at the same time, Philadelphia, it's now or never, right? You've gotta start to try and put together wins. But again, if you're an NFC team and you underachieved, it's over, bro.
Right.
You got Minnesota, Green Bay, Seattle, and the 49ers. Those four teams alone basically eliminate you from the wild card race.
And the Saints
too. And you've got a couple of other teams that are only a couple games away. It's going to be tough. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I know that I know that a lot of people say Seattle doesn't play well on the East, which they tend not to because of the travel schedule. But I'll still take Seattle in this one. I think Russell is just playing out of his mind right now.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, dude, easily. Lamar and Russell, no matter how you put it, might be the front 1-2 front.
And honestly, here's what I'll say about Lamar. The thing is, I don't really consider him MVP because I just think that, dude, that Harbaugh guy and whatever they do in Baltimore, they know what they're doing, dude.
Yeah,
they put together a team that just they know what they do. We do everything we do, and we don't need to do what you do. We do what we do really well. We don't need a number one receiver.
Right.
We don't even really need a number one on a lot of the types. Like on their defense, they're not really top heavy on defense like they used to be. It used to be like T-Sizzle, and you got guys here and there. They're not really top heavy anymore. They just got good depth, really solid. That Marcus Peters trade worked out well for them. I agree with you. It's between Lamar and Russell right now.
The Jacksonville Jaguars go to Tennessee. Tennessee are 3-point favorites. The Jaguars have proven to us why you just stick with the hot hand.
True.
I don't know why they're so eager to play Nick Foles. Probably because they're paying him so much money. But that's not the reason why you bring in. I mean, Gardner Minshew has been with this team starting for at least in the last 7-8 weeks,
and been doing pretty damn well.
Yes. And has been doing a phenomenal job. So that's why I'm thinking in this one, I'm going to take. Ryan Tannehill hasn't been bad under center for Tennessee so far this year. So I'll take the Titans at home.
Okay. Yeah, I honestly, what I think about Jacksonville is that they're a team that lacks an identity still. That you used to think that they play really good defense, and quite frankly, they haven't. Like, since they traded Jalen Ramsey, they haven't really been that tremendous of a team. So And even when they did have Ramsey, by the way, they weren't that great. They've got some stuff to look forward to. But yeah, I agree. Tennessee somehow just finds a way to put together. We talked about them. They're going to suck most weeks, but they're also going to put together weeks where you think that they're a competent NFL team. And by the way, we are keeping a close eye on this Oregon and Arizona State game. And Arizona State just went 3 and out, I think. So they're going to punt the ball back to Oregon with around 6.5 minutes left.
Yeah, that was a good play coming off the edge right there.
That was. And Oregon, by the way, they have 2 timeouts left. So 2 timeouts, around 6:19 left right now. And Arizona State is going to punt the ball to Oregon. Oregon's got to go fast, though, right now, as they will get a bullet kick that's returned back right now, looking for blockers. So they'll be at their 35-yard line right now, trying to get a touchdown quickly.
Let's go to New England. The Cowboys visit the Patriots. Patriots are 6-point favorites.
Interesting game.
This is a very interesting game. It depends, in my opinion, I think it depends on what the game plan is for Dallas. Is Dallas going to be a running team this week where Dak Prescott manages the game?
Yeah.
Will Dallas be a throwing team that will sprinkle a little Zeke? I think if they're going to win, because Dallas's defense, I think, is going to outshine New England's offense because Tom Brady looks 42. Sony Michel has kind of been in and out injury-wise. They don't have any wide receivers.
Yeah.
You have Ben Watson that's got to be like 500 years old.
And I think Sanu is out this week.
I think Sanu is out as well.
Yeah.
I'm taking Dallas in this game. I think that they're going to find a way to kind of I do think that they're going to find a way offensively to really work around that New England defense, and I think they're gonna wear them down. You'll see a good healthy dose of Ezekiel Elliott in this game. So
yeah.
I'll take Dallas plus the 6.
I think Kellen Moore is still sort of coming together right now, and coming into
Look at those crisp back of the shoulder passes,
beautiful throw
by
Herbert.
Justin Big Arm Herbert.
Wow, that's a beautiful ball.
Oh, what a pass!
That's a beautiful ball. As
Future Buck, I'm telling you
Herbert,
that now.
And I totally forgot. I mean, I kept saying this was over. I totally forgot. You get a first down, the clock stops.
It stops.
So right now, they're basically back in the red zone right now, down by 10 with the possibility to get the ball back with like under 3 minutes left.
Yep.
Here's the thing about Kellen Moore. He's still coming to his own as a play caller.
Right.
I don't think he quite understands the balance that he wants to have quite yet. I think if you were asking him what his ideal balance is, it's whatever wins him the game.
Right.
So I think, here's my thing with Dallas. I think they've come to the end of the road on Jason Garrett. It's hard to say that you're not going to fire him, obviously. The team is good enough right now that you're obviously not going to fire him. But this guy, Jason Garrett, just to me is not putting this team in the positions that they need to be put in to win games. And we saw it on a couple of occasions where they lost games that they shouldn't have lost. So I think Kellen Moore still has a lot to learn, and it's still sort of coming together on what he wants to do. But at the same time, I still think right now, New England is the team that will what Belichick does better than anybody else is 2 things. He takes your best player and he takes them out of the game.
Yep.
Then what he does is he finds the little things that you don't do well and he just keys in on it all game.
Yep.
So I think what you'll see is Dallas. I think what you'll see is New England trying to keep Dallas off the field. And also, I think you'll see the same from Dallas. I think Dallas is going to try and run the clock a little bit more. They're in Foxborough, right?
That's in Foxborough.
It's Foxborough, so I think Dallas will try and take a little bit of time off the clock. And I think you're right. You'll see a lot of Zeke Elliott here.
That leads us to the Sunday night game, which is probably the game of the week. It's Green Bay going to San Francisco. San Francisco's favored by 3 points.
Man, that's an interesting game.
My buddy Alex Aldepe, shout out to Alex, was saying, which quarterback do I trust the most? Do I trust Aaron Rodgers or Jimmy Garoppolo?
I trust
I mean, yes, Jimmy has had a really good game, and I know a lot of people get San Francisco their due for winning that game last week against Arizona.
Yeah.
But, Arizona is kind of a team that's still trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
So the fact that they gave up 4 TD passes to Jimmy Garoppolo kind of towards in the second half doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
As far as Green Bay is concerned, I think Green Bay, in this sense, has the experience over San Francisco. A lot of these guys don't know.
Oh, touchdown. What a play call. Fake screen. That led to a easy, quick touchdown. It'll be 21-24 after an extra point. 5:24 left. They just scored 2 touchdowns in 2 minutes. Pretty crazy. Great job by Herbert. Great throw.
That's because Justin Herbert's that monster. I'm telling you, Justin Herbert's going to be that
He
dude.
looks massive, too.
He
looks like
6'6",
he's
240.
like towering over. His shoulders are like double the size of his teammates. Yeah, you know, Nick, San Francisco really misses George Kittle.
Yes,
like,
they
a
do.
lot. Not only his receiving, but his blocking. He does such an amazing job of blocking. They miss him so badly that they can't really play their game without him. I think he's still questionable this week. I have him in a couple fantasy teams, so I'm imagining that they're going to wait. He's a game time decision.
Right.
Him and Sanders, by the way, is playing with bum ribs. So, but I really like the fact that San Francisco's defense, it came back down to earth a little bit.
Yes.
And now they're realizing, oh shit, we've got to come out and play hard every single play. Because I think they dominated for 3 games in a row, and the defense just sort of, took it started a couple weeks ago in that first game against Arizona where Kyler Murray was running all over them and passing all over them.
Right.
Last week, Kyler Murray had some pretty good success. But I think San Francisco, what they'll try and do, I think most is stop Aaron Jones, and they're gonna make guys other than Devontae Adams beat them.
Right.
But Green Bay right now, their defense is going to be big in this one. I'm just going to take San Francisco. I think San Francisco is too much when they can run the ball, and I think they're going to run the ball a lot at home.
I'm going to go with Green Bay because I think Green Bay is kind of set up for a game like this. What they're knowing what's on the line as far as first place, knowing, what's on the line as far as, in the division because Minnesota's still on their heels.
Yeah.
So I think defensively, I think Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith are really going to give him fits. So I'm going to take Green Bay on the road against San Francisco.
Green Bay shows up in primetime games too.
Right.
Like they show up when they're on primetime.
And then our Monday night game and follow game of the week, the Baltimore Ravens are in LA to take on the Rams, and it's Baltimore. They're 3.5-point favorites.
How are they only 3.5-point favorites? Baltimore's been blowing everybody out of the water, and the Rams have barely squeaked by.
Credit.
Yeah, that's true. And here's another thing that I would say. They've been giving home teams Vegas has been giving a lot of credit to home teams this year. So, but yeah, I think Baltimore's a real deal, dude. I think this John Harbaugh and what he's done. Give John Harbaugh credit, dude. They could have brought Joe Flacco back this year. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
I know it wouldn't have made a lot of sense, but nobody would have batted an eye if they brought Joe Flacco back. But what did they say? Nope, we got our guy. We saw him last season. Because let's remember, Lamar had a good season towards the latter half when he replaced Flacco last season, but there was a lot of holes in his game still.
Right.
And people were like, oh, he's going to have his first full season. And that's why, if you're speaking in fantasy terms, if you pick Lamar Jackson, chances are he was probably like the 10th quarterback taken off the board.
Right.
So a lot of people.
It felt like 10th. It felt like either 5th or 6th.
But I mean, dude, I had him in keeper league, and I picked him, I think, in the 7th or 8th round or something like that. He's a number 1 fantasy quarterback in the league this year, and he's doing it with his legs more than usual.
Right.
This is a guy, dude, that can escape any situation. If you have him surrounded with 3 defenders, he can hop here, hop there, juke here, and he's gone. So I'm gonna take Baltimore in this one. I love Baltimore overall.
Yeah, I like the Ravens too. I think Lamar Jackson is playing, like you said, at a very high level.
Yeah.
One we haven't really seen since, I don't know. I mean, I almost said Vic, but Vince Young had this kind of season.
True.
His rookie season.
Honestly,
before Jeff Fisher
RG3 had like
career.
half a season.
Yeah,
like
he did
too,
before he got hurt.
Before Shanahan ruined his career.
Yeah, exactly.
So Oregon is not fucking around right now. It's 4:37 left. They just sacked Arizona State. They're down by 3. All they need is the ball, and they're probably going to go for the score to try and beat this Arizona State team. Let's see what Herm Edwards has in the bag of tricks here, because it's going to be a tough game to win.
It most definitely is. So that's our Week 12 picks for the week.
Yes, sir.
We are 3 hours and 14
we-
minutes in the show.
We're getting better at this, man.
We're getting better at this,
We don't even notice anymore.
No, we don't. But I want to thank, obviously want to thank Mike and Reps Place for letting us come in once again. Oh, no.
And he
He's
houses
taking us
it
to the house.
And he houses it. And just when I said that it was over, oh man, he just closed the coffin.
He gave him the overrated O. He just gave him the
Overrated.
O.
As Arizona State just went up on a 81-yard touchdown reception. Guys, shout out to our sponsors again. Intrinsic Marketing. All the services you need under one roof. You start a business because you believe in what you do. So let Intrinsic Marketing bring your product.
However,
or
there's a
service
flag on the play
to the market. There is a flag on the play, guys, on that 81. We'll see if I think it might be a celebration thing. Sorry to cut the read short. After the play. Yeah, so guys, all the services you need under one roof. You start a business because you believe in what you do. So let Intrinsic Marketing bring your product or service to the market. That's what they do best. Intrinsic has the services, tools, and expertise to make it happen all in one place. Services include web design. We're talking design, development, and hosting, and everything you need to get online. Social media, comprehensive social media service management, scaled to fit your specific needs. Copywriting, blog posts, articles, sales material, press releases, targeted ads, and much more. Guys, do us a huge favor. Don't take our word for it. See for yourself. Visit intrinsic.chicago.com. That's INTRINSIC Chicago. You know the spelling on that. .com. Again, guys, intrinsic.chicago.com. Shout out to Intrinsic Marketing. Again, guys, PodRiver Network is the one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. If you haven't already checked out podriver.com or for the other shows on the network, we're talking about Boss to Boss with Mira Wieslow, Local Level with our producer Steve Wiley. Again, check out PodRiver Media on YouTube for new videos 4 times a week, guys. Not a lot of people putting out that type of content right now. Steve is doing great things here. Shout out to Reps Place for helping us out on that as well. So again, guys, if you have a service or product that you would like to promote on any of our shows or on the network, PodRiver, it's simple, guys. We offer sponsorship plans now that should be updated on the website. So visit podriver.com, fill out the form for pricing information. Again, guys, that's podriver.com. Anything else, Steve? Anything else, Nick?
No.
I think we're good to go.
All right, guys. Another one in the books. Thanks again to Reps 3200, Kirchhoff Road in Rolling Meadows. For Black, Steve, I'm Mac. Peace.
Deuce.